The Radiance of Pokémon wisdom. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 426, talking about speed in the face of superpowers. Sakura, you actually lost. Kazehang was surprised. It would be fine if he lost to those powerful Pokémon in Zahu's hands, but Zahu's hard-scale Pokémon was clearly not strong. Winning and losing is a common thing. Let's do the next one, Zahu said. Okay, Squirtle, come out. Kazehang took back Sakura and then released a Squirtle. Squirtle? Does hard-scale Pokémon still want to fight? Zahu said. Hard-scale Pokémon blinked at Squirtle. Silly, stupid, it should not be able to beat him. Thinking of this, hard-scale Pokémon called Zahu, indicating that he wanted to fight. No problem, let's start the fight. Zahu snapped his fingers. Iron Head skill. The scales on hard-scale Pokémon's head shone, and it quickly crashed into Squirtle, like a cannonball. Squirtle, get out of the way. Kazehang ordered calmly. The originally honest-looking turtle suddenly perked up upon hearing the order, and suddenly became extremely shrewd. He easily jumped and dodged the Iron Head attack of Hard-Scale Treasure. Hard-Scale Treasure was stunned. This turtle is so fast. Did he take hormones? Turtle, flying leaf knife. Kazehang said. Turtle's glasses glowed, and large leaves flew out of his body like sharp blades, hitting Hard-Scale Treasure. Hard-Scale Treasure screamed, and fell to the side of the tree. Hard-Scale Treasure, are you okay? Zahu said. Bayo Hard-Scale Treasure struggled to stand up, and his eyes revealed an unyielding fighting spirit. Pokémon with fighting attributes all have an unyielding fighting spirit, while Pokémon with dragon attributes are mostly arrogant. The Staff-Tail Scale Dragon, which has both fighting and dragon attributes, has both arrogant and unyielding personalities. Although Hard-Scale Treasure has not yet evolved fighting attributes, its heart is the same. However, the people in Alola are simple and honest, and the Pokémon are also very harmonious, so they rarely fight. Especially at the Sun Altar, there are almost only the family of the Staff-Tail Scale Dragon. They are smooth sailing, and there is no threat. There are fewer training and fighting, so their strength is not improved, and they are ignored. Zahu's Hard-Scale Treasure is lucky. After leaving there, he followed Zahu out and received training. After seeing all kinds of powerful Pokémon, he began to be determined to become stronger, and the instinct of the race was awakened. However, during normal training, the nine-tailed fox saw that Hard-Scale Treasure was small, so they basically showed mercy and pampered it. So this was the first time that Hard-Scale Treasure was beaten so hard. But it was so hard that it wanted to win even more. Okay, keep fighting. Iron Head skill, speed up. Zahu said. Hard-Scale Treasure speeded up, running on 4 short legs, and rushed towards Grass Seedling Turtle at a speed nearly twice as fast as before. What a fast speed. Amazing Pokémon. But so fast. Kazehang showed a strange smile on his face. Grass Seedling Turtle, use Parasitic Seed. Not good. Zahu's face changed slightly, but he was helpless. A small seed squeezed out from the leaves on the top of the grass seedling, hitting Hard-Scale Treasure accurately. Then the branches and leaves grew and wrapped around Hard-Scale Treasure's body. Hard-Scale Treasure's expression froze, and all his strength was quickly drained away. The whole Pokémon was listless. Leaf Storm. Vegetable Seed said. The grass seedling turtle's energy surged, and an energy storm composed of green flying leaves formed around it, bombarding Hard-Scale Treasure. Hard-Scale Treasure cried out in grief, was blown away by the energy, fell to the ground, and revealed a pair of big circular eyes. Hard-Scale Treasure, you have lost your ability to fight. The referee said. Come back, Hard-Scale Treasure. Next, you should train well. Zahu took back Hard-Scale Treasure and release Metal Monster. Metal Monster, next, you will show off alone. Zahu said. Metal Monster waved its 2 arms, indicating that everything depended on it. Okay, let's start the battle. Metal Monster, telekinesis. Zahu said. The 2 big eyes of the Metal Monster shone brightly, and the power flowed through his body. Grass Turtle, hide quickly. Kazehang was about to issue the command to dodge, but before the speed of the grass turtle was issued, the body was controlled by the metal monster and floated in the air, unable to move. Grass turtle is very fast, and even the illusion light probably can't hit it, but unfortunately, telekinesis can. Telekinesis is invisible, and intangible, and it can't escape either, because the grass turtle's running speed can't be faster than the metal monster's thoughts. Zahu said. In front of superpowers, talking about speed is 2 levels stronger, otherwise don't talk about it. Metal monster, smash the grass turtle into the clamp of a tree next to it. Zahu said. The metal monster's telekinesis surged. The grass turtle was ruthlessly smashed down and hit the fork of the trunk of a tree next to it. It was stuck inside and couldn't move and could only make pitiful whimpers. Kazehang looked ugly. She built such a forest gym to let grass type Pokémon live better and closer to nature. She never thought that one day her dual venue would be used by the opponent. Metal monster, freeze punch, the end. Zahu said. Metal monster's right fist flashed with icy light and hit the grass turtle fiercely. The cold air was so cold that it broke the tree trunk together. Ice crystals condensed at the broken part. The grass turtle was completely knocked away and hit the ground with its 4 legs facing up, revealing a pair of big circular eyes. Grass turtle has lost the ability to fight. The referee waved the flag again and said, Grass turtle has also lost, so the next one is it, Rose Raiden. Kazehang threw the Pokeball. A red light flashed, and an elegant bipedal grass Pokémon appeared on the field, with a rose-shaped white substance, like a gentleman, without palms, but 2 flowers, one red and one blue. Flower Pokémon, a Pokémon that exudes fragrance all over its body, but it is a thorny rose, and there is a whip hidden in the double flowers. It is your strongest trump card, right? Zahu said. Yes, and he has a big trick to deal with you, metal monster. Kazehang said. Really? That metal monster, telekinesis. Zahu said. The metal monster, with eyes wide open, surged with telekinesis, controlled Rosseraid and threw her to the side of a tree. Rosseraid was thrown hard and fell to the ground. Next, meteor punch. Zahu said. The metal monster spun his fists, a faint light flashed on his body, and he was about to hit Rosseraid. Flash. Kazehang said. A large area of dazzling light immediately burst out from Rosseraid's body, shining on the metal monster. The metal monster's eyes were illuminated by the strong light, and he instinctively closed his eyes, and his aim deviated, rushing upwards. Okay, Rosseraid, use the weather ball. Kazehang said. Rosseraid's 2 flowers swung, and a strange transparent ball flew out, and then under the scorching sun, it instantly became hot and fiery red, accurately hitting the metal monster whose eyes were still confused. Iron Wall. Zahu said. Although the metal monster couldn't open his eyes, he didn't need eyes to use the Iron Wall trick. He used it immediately, and a layer of metallic luster flashed on his body. With a bang, the metal monster was hit by the weather ball and fell to the ground, stirring up a large cloud of dust. After the wind and sand cleared, there were some burn marks on the metal monster's hard body, but it did not completely lose its combat ability. Iron Wall, a game attribute, improves the physical defense of Pokémon and strengthens the defense against physical attacks of enemy Pokémon, but in reality, the body has become hard, so how can the defense against special attacks not be improved? When Zyos his lobster soldier used Iron Wall to resist special moves such as Water Gun, it was the same as using Guard, and the Water Gun attack was completely ineffective. In real combat, except for the return punch and mirror reflection, it is difficult to distinguish between physical and special attacks, and it can even be said that physical and special attacks are inseparable. Chapter 427 Forest Badge. Metal Monster, Electromagnetic Levitation. Zahu said. The magnetic force surged on the metal monster's body, and the body seemed to be a little lighter, floating freely in the air. Electromagnetic levitation, a trick that is not a trick. You can use magnetic force to float and fly. Those who can't learn it, just can't learn it, but Magnetron and Metal Monster, the 2 big families, can use it after evolution. It is already instinct, and does not need to be used as a trick. Now Zahu deliberately let Metal Monster use this trick. The electromagnetic effect is stronger, and the floating movement is faster. At this point in the battle, Zahu also found a problem. Rosalido does not have the characteristics of chlorophyll and has not been specially trained for speed like the grass seedling turtle, so the speed is not very fast. Rosalido, use the magic leaf. Kazehang shouted. Rosalido's magic leaf condensed and hit the metal monster. Dodge, Zahu said. The metal monster floated freely and was very flexible in the sky. Even if Rosalido attacked, he could dodge freely. Because Metal Monster's final evolution, Metagross, is a power type, Zahu usually emphasizes strength in training, not speed. However, Zahu has a group of high-speed streamers in his hands, and Metal Monster's speed is not slow. Frozen Fist, Zahu said. Metal Monster's right fist flashed with a cold light and hit Roserade with one punch. Ice crystals condensed, and Roserade retreated several meters before barely stopping. Roserade, use the weather ball continuously. Kazehang shouted. Roserade quickly absorbed the warm sunlight from the sky, and transparent balls emerged one by one, floating in the air. Then, under the sunlight, they instantly turned into flame energy balls. Weather ball, a trick that changes its attributes and power with the weather. On a sunny day, the attribute will become a fire attribute trick, and the power is twice as much as normal. Roserade absorbed the sunlight, and the ice crystals on her body quickly melted naturally, and then one by one the weather balls floated, and the hot power surged, making it difficult for Metal Monster to hide. Use this trick that leaves the body's control, and don't attack immediately. But do you really not understand at all? In terms of control, it is super powerful and invincible. Zahu showed a smile on his face. Metal Monster, use telekinesis to control these energy bombs, and explode. The Metal Monster's telekinesis covered the surroundings, controlling the weather balls around, and smashing them towards Rosalido. Right now, Rosalido, let's use the weather balls too, and explode them all. Seeing the action of the Metal Monster, Kazehang's eyes showed excitement. Rosalido quickly used another weather ball, and the flames rolled, colliding with the Metal Monster's weather ball. The concentrated and condensed terrifying power was fully released, and the strong flames burst in all directions, and a sea of fire burst out, rushing towards the Metal Monster. Metal Monster, use telekinesis to pull Rosalido into the explosion area, Zahu said. The Metal Monster can't teleport, and can't escape the explosion range. In this case, both sides will be injured. The weather ball turned into fire attribute, but Rosalido did not turn into fire attribute. The weather ball's attack is twice as strong on the steel attributed Metal Monster, and twice as strong on Rosalita. Rosalita, run away. Kazehang's face changed. She calculated the time and distance. If it exploded now, Rosalita would also be affected. However, due to the distance, Rosalita would not be hurt too much. With her ability, she could definitely bear it. However, it would be completely different if she was pulled in by telekinesis. Kazehang's order was issued in a timely manner, but her timely order did not mean that Rosalita could carry it out. Without a doubt, she was pulled in by Metal Monster's telekinesis. The flames exploded, blazing, and a large amount of thick smoke was raised. After the smoke cleared, the two Pokémons in the same place fell down at the same time, revealing a pair of big circular eyes. Rosalita and Metal Monster have lost their ability to fight at the same time. So the winner is Zahu from Pallet Town. The referee said. Thank you for your hard work, Metal Monster. Zahu said as he took back Metal Monster. What a miscalculation. I can't even see the third Pokémon of Professor Zahu. Kazehang said, it's not a rare species. It's the same, whether you see it or not. Zahu said. Mr. Zahu's Pokémon is of course different. And, the forest badge, proof that you beat me. Kazehang took out the gym badge of the EME gym. Thank you. Zahu smiled and took the gym badge from Kazehang's hand. He turned around and wanted to leave. A young man's voice came from the door. This is the EME gym. Can I challenge it? Zahu raised his eyebrows slightly, turned around curiously, and saw Shinji walking in with a smug look. Shinji, long time no see. Zahu smiled. Huh? Brother Zahu? Did you just finish the gym match? Shinji asked in surprise. Yes, I just got the gym badge. It's your turn next, but I don't know if Miss Kazehang has other Pokémon to fight. Zahu said. Of course I do. My grass type Pokémon is the most powerful and the most. It's a pity that Mr. Kajero is unwilling to exchange with me. Nazhang looked at Kajiro on the side and said, "Go away, both Desert Naia and Fange Cage are mine." Kajiro looked at Nazane rudely and said, although Fange Cage and Desert Naia were always bullying Kajiro, the worst time was when Kajiro just released Fange Cage and Fange Cage bit Kajiro's head. Then, in order to break free from Fange Cage, Kajiro released Desert Naia again, but Desert Naia hugged Kajiro's neck. Kajiro was in ecstasy that day. However, Kajiro really loves them and will never trade with anyone. Okay, then, challenger, are you ready? Nazane looked at Shinji and said, okay, but can I ask about the situation of Brother Zahu just now? Shinji said, are you targeting him? Straightforward, he only used 2 Pokémon, and they should be Pokémon that he had just captured, but he defeated my 3. Nazane said, 2 defeated 3. I understand. Shinji said seriously, you want to follow suit too? Don't underestimate me. Nazhang saw through Shinji's intention and said with dissatisfaction. Because of Shinji's arrival, Zahu and others were not in a hurry to leave and sat aside to watch the duel between Shinji and Nazhang. Appreciate Shinji's growth. Nazhang's Pokémon are still all grass type Pokémon, Venusaur, Tyrannosaurus, and Cunning Tengu. Shinji sent out Magura, Iron Face Ninja, and Snowboy with favorable attributes. In the end, Shinji won. However, since Zahu knew the prepared Lanoop, he naturally used 3 to win. Nazhang is not the 3 Hulan sisters in the past. Although they cannot be said to be very strong, they are definitely not weak. They are at the level of normal gym trainers. If Shinji uses his trump card, he can still exchange 2 for 3, but with a 3 he just captured, it is good enough to win. Even if Magura is not strong, Shinji may have capsized. Chapter 428 Shinji's Pursuit. Do you understand how powerful they are? Don't underestimate gym trainers. If it weren't for the fact that their information has been basically released and that Pokémon cannot be changed during battles, it would be difficult for your 3 to win. After the battle at the Emi Gym, Zahu and his group left with Shinji and went to the Pokémon Center to treat the injured Pokémon and chat about the recent situation. I know, I will pay attention in the future, but I will work harder to catch up with Brother Zahu, Shinji said with a firm look. I'm waiting for that day, Zahu said with anticipation. After challenging the Emi Gym, the next one is the Curtain Gym in Vale City, which happens to be your hometown. Is your brother at home now? My brother is at home. After he failed in the battle against the Frontier, he started traveling again. He challenged Unova and Kalos regions successively. He also found the Mega Evolution Stone and Evolution Keystone of Blaziken in Kalos, and went to Hone specifically to catch a Blaziken. Now he is preparing to train Blaziken well. After the Blaziken evolves into Blaziken, he plans to challenge the Champions League. Shinji said. Champions League. That's not an easy thing. However, you can prepare for it. Your strength is almost enough to participate in the Champions League. You can challenge the Champions League with your brother, Zahu said. But only regional champions can participate in the Champions League. I haven't yet. Shinji's face was calm, but there was a bit of sadness in his eyes. Among him, Xiaomeo, and Xiaozi, he was the only one who had not won the regional championship. If he said that he didn't care at all, it would be a lie. Not necessarily. As long as there is a recommendation from the king or the champion, you can also participate. After all, the league conference is held once a year, and there are limited contestants. In order to gather more people, and avoid some masters not having the opportunity to enter the league, some conditions are relaxed. If you want to participate, I can recommend you. You can try with your strength. Maybe you can become one of the 4 heavenly kings. After all, the Ground King Kakuno has already thought about retiring, and he will give up his position at that time, Zahu said, and the Insect King Aliu is just making up the number, which means there are 2 places. But I still want to try to win my own championship with my own strength. Then I can challenge the Champions League, Shinji said. That's good. You have always been a very opinionated person, unlike Xiaozi. I don't need to say more. But you can call me Brother Zahu and ask me if you have any questions. I will not refuse you, Zahu said. Thank you, Shinji said gratefully. He is not good at expressing his feelings. A thank you already said a lot. Then he said, I really have a question. Brother Zahu, are you familiar with our Sinnoh champion, Sharona? It's okay, just so. After all, we are not from the same continent. On the contrary, her grandmother, Dr. Mr. Orchid, is more familiar with me. Zahu said. Sinnoh champion Sharona, also known as Bamboo Orchid in translation, is nicknamed BKG, the first female champion to appear in the Pokémon animation game, and also the most popular champion, and may even be the most popular female character. How popular is it? The champion who appeared the most times in the animation, and the first champion to appear in the movie. As for the derivatives, let alone in fanfiction, if there is a heroine, 8 out of 10 are Sharona, and the goddess is high, and the protagonist may even become a bootliker. If it is a harem, then there must be Sharona, and Sharona is most likely the master of the harem. In order to collect Sharona more reasonably, a group of people racked their brains and worked hard to make Sharona from Sinnoh and Johto Side, who only appeared once in the animation in the Kanto region, become sisters. Then let Sharona appear in advance and pick her up. It's really rare. Zahu also liked the character of Sharona in his previous life, but Zahu and Sharona were really not familiar with each other. After all, one is in Kanto and the other is in Sinnoh, and the years when Zahu struggled for research were the years when Sharona struggled for the championship. Since they were not in the same circle, naturally there was no communication. When all the champions entered the same circle, Zahu no longer had the desire to meet celebrities like when he first crossed over, so the relationship between him and Sharona was just ordinary friends. On the contrary, Sharona's grandmother, Dr. Mr. Orchid, was in the academic world, and they had talked about some academic research. Then, Brother Zahu, do you know how strong Sharona is? Shinji said. I know a little bit. Her ace main force is Garchomp, which is very strong. Moreover, the selection and matching of Pokémon teams are not limited to attributes, unlike Doo's main attack of Dragon and Flying, and Dago's main attack of Steel. It is a type that is more difficult to target with tactics. Zahu said. Brother Zahu, do you think I can defeat one of Sharona's Garchomps with all my means now? 6 for 1. Shinji said. 6 against 1. I don't know how strong her Garchomp is now. If it is based on the performance of the Champions League last year, in theory, it should be about 20%. Zahu frowned. Only 20%? Shinji was surprised. It was last year's performance, theoretically 20%, but actually 0, and judging by the current performance, 0. Zahu said. Theoretically, 20% means that Sharona only sends 1, and Shinji uses all 6 together, using all kinds of tactics to weaken Garchomp. But in reality, if it's really 6 against 6, how could Sharona not change Garchomp when she sees that Garchomp is in trouble? And now, Sharona should have gotten the Mega Evolution Stone. So assuming Sharona has no other trump cards, the chance of winning is 0. Is it so strong? Shinji said in disbelief. What do you think? Although the champion and the king are roughly at the same level, the champion is not necessarily stronger than the king, but there are parallel kings in the alliance, but no parallel champions. At least so far, I have never seen a champion who is a parallel. Zahu said. I understand. But I still want to challenge Miss Sharona. Shinji said. Do you know where Sharona is? Zahu said in surprise. Yeah. My brother said that she is doing an ancient history survey in a town ahead. It's really the same as what Brother Zahu said. The league champions all have side jobs. Shinji looked at Zahu meaningfully and said. The man in front of him added a powerful proof to this argument. Main job, doctor, side job, champion. So, when Lacey decided to stop traveling and stay in Sinnoh to train the fire chicks to prepare for next year's Champions League, and discussed with him whether to open a breeding house to develop his spare time and kill time, he expressed strong support. He clearly told his big brother that if he wanted to become a champion, he must have a good side job. So now Lacey is training the fire chicks while running the breeding house. What's that look in your eyes? Zahu looked at Shinji with a strange face and said. No, I just feel that the distance between me and Brother Zahu is getting farther and farther. Shinji said. What's so far away? Anyway, just remember to call me Brother Zahu. Zahu smiled and rubbed Shinji's head. Shinji looked dissatisfied, but he couldn't do anything about Zahu, the unscrupulous big brother. Okay, next, I'll give you some special training. Even if you can't beat Sirona, you can at least last longer. Zahu said. Brother Zahu, don't you plan to meet Miss Sirona? Shinji said. I'm not interested. She and Eigo are studying the eternal super evolution. If I go there, I might get into trouble. These champions are not good people. Or you and Zaozi are simple. Zahu said. Simple. Shinji had a strange expression. People will get all kinds of evaluations from the outside world in their lives, but this evaluation of simplicity is the first time he has been given by others. Especially when it comes from Zahu's mouth. He always feels that Zahu is saying it for fun. Chapter 429 Shianguan Mountain. White clouds floated by, and the forests were lush. Shinji continued to walk forward with his small bag on his back, ready to challenge Sirona. But when he walked away, he looked back at the direction of Bayday City, and couldn't help but twitch his mouth. It felt right. It was just fun. But in order to improve his strength, he had to take the initiative to send it up. Thinking about it made him cry, and Shinji picked up his backpack and continued to move forward. At this time, Zahu came to Shianguan Mountain. Walking on the highest peak in the Sinnoh region, Zahu felt that the air was much clearer. Heart Scale, Meowth and Eevee were running happily on the ground. After Meowth, Gurren Weng, Monini and Windbell, the three of them also had the privilege of not entering the Pokeball. Heart Scale was too young and too playful, Meowth was reluctant to let go, and Eevee was teased by Kona. The three Pokémon played with each other, and in the bushes, a puppy-sized Pokémon with a black shield ran out. The shield Pokémon was strange at first, and then happily played with Meowth and the others. Isn't this the extinct Pokémon Shield Ankylosaurus? Kajiro said in surprise. What do you mean extinct? It's just a fossil Pokémon. Nowadays, it's rare to see resurrected fossil Pokémon, Zahu said. Shield Ankylosaurus, like Hayata's Craniosaurus, lived in the ancient forest about 100 million years ago. However, unlike Craniosaurus, which had a big treasure cover on its head for attack, Shield Ankylosaurus was born with a shield on its head. The final evolution was a Warhammer dragon and a guardian dragon. One used attack as defense, and the other used defense as offense. It can be called the strongest spear and the strongest shield among fossil Pokémon. That's right, but has it been resurrected so well? Kajiro said. Yes, Zyomao stayed in this place to cultivate and take care of several Shield Ankylosaurus. This one should be one of them. If I'm not mistaken, he will be here soon, Zahu said. As soon as Zahu finished speaking, he heard footsteps coming, and soon, he saw Zyomao running over with an anxious look on his face. When the Shield Ankylosaurus saw Zyomao coming, it also showed a happy expression, and ran to Zyomao's legs. It seems that this Shield Ankylosaurus likes you very much, Zyomao, Zahu said. Brother Zahu, Sister Kona, why are you here? Zyomao asked curiously. What nonsense are you talking about? I'm challenging the Sinnoh League. Of course I will pass by Shianguan Mountain. But why are you here? We obviously set out together. How can you be so much faster than me? Zahu said. Zahu came to Shianguan Mountain specifically for Zyomao. In fact, he accepted Professor Oak's commission, so he naturally had to come here, not to mention Zyomao, the younger brother he has seen since childhood. However, Zyomao has been traveling for so long. If Zahu says that your grandfather is worried about you, so he specially asked me to come to see how you are doing, and help you if you have any trouble. Wouldn't that discourage Zyomao's enthusiasm? Our classmate Zyomao likes to be self-reliant, and doesn't like to say that he relies on his family. Oh, that's because when I was in Steel City, and I was challenging the Steel Gym, I went to the Black Gold Carbon Pit to dig for fossils, and found a Scutosaurus fossil. Then, because one of them was particularly attached to me, and I was also very interested in Scutosaurus, I came directly to Shianguan Mountain to cultivate and take care of it with everyone. Zyomao said. So that's how it is 100 million years ago. The largest gathering place of Scutosaurus and Craniofauna was also here in Shianguan Mountain. Zahu said. Yes, so before Dr. Yamanashi perfectly simulated the ancient environment and made it suitable for Scutosaurus to live, Scutosaurus had to live here. Xiaomao said. If you follow Dr. Yamanashi, you can learn a lot. In the current academic world, the only one who can really compete with the teacher is Dr. Yamanashi. Zahu talked while walking. Brother Zahu, you underestimate yourself. Grandpa said that he and Dr. Yamanashi are both so old, and they have never been able to suppress each other in their lives. Now, they are competing to see who will die first. On the contrary, if you can make great theoretical research on super evolution, you will not only be the leader of the new generation of academia, but also the leader of the entire academia, Xiaomao said. Even if the super evolution research is successful, it is not necessarily possible to surpass the teacher. There are two major creatures in this world, humans and Pokémon, so studying the relationship between humans and Pokémon will never be outdated. Even if Pokémon super evolves, it is just an increase in power. It can even be said that after Pokémon becomes stronger, the bond will become more important. So ask the teacher more when you have time, and don't act like a child. True maturity cannot be shown without the help of parents. Zahu said. I just don't want others to say that I rely on my grandfather's achievements. Every time I'm introduced, I'm the grandson of the famous Dr. Oak. Xiaomao curled his lips. Yes, I know, your name is Oak. Zahu smiled, which can be regarded as a butterfly effect caused by himself. In the anime, Xiaomao can be said to be the fastest growing rival of Xiaozi. When he first came out, he was arrogant and coquettish. Except that he knew more about Pokémon than Xiaozi, he was not much different from Xiaozi in other aspects. However, after failing in the Quartz Conference, he grew rapidly and evolved into Rational Xiaomao. After failing in the Silver Conference, he went a step further and evolved from Rational Xiaomao to Elite Xiaomao, completing the 3-stage evolution. When he appeared in SYNOPSIS, he met Xiaozi several times. They were obviously the same age, but judging from their performance, Xiaomao was definitely older than Xiaozi. However, because of Zahu, Xiaozi did grow, but the growth was not as obvious as in the anime. After all, Zahu was the one who lost. In Xiaomao's self-cognition, an invincible goal, losing was expected, and even a large part of it was luck. After all, the others who met Zahu also lost. Unlike in the anime, he lost to passers-by A, B, C, and D, and Xiaozi, his nemesis, suffered a major setback, and then transformed and grew up. Xiaomao is now more mature than before, but he is still in the stage of a spirited teenager. Yes, I want others to know that my name is Oak Shigeru, not just the grandson of the famous Professor Oak. Xiaomao said. Leave everything to time. If you are gold, you will shine. But you, who take care of the scutum, are you planning to be a researcher? Zahu said. I have this plan. I think studying Pokémon is really good. Maybe compared to being a Pokémon trainer, I prefer being a Pokémon doctor. It seems more interesting to study them. Brother Zahu, you are the best Pokémon scholar and Pokémon trainer I have ever seen. Do you think I can do it? Xiaomao said. Yes, of course. Pokémon scholars and Pokémon trainers do not conflict. Besides, you have to learn to get along with Pokémon by yourself, otherwise there will be no one to take care of the more than 200 Pokémon you caught. Zahu said. Didn't I know the situation at the beginning? I have planned to release those sweethearts who are not familiar with me. Xiaomao said. Don't call them sweethearts if you're not familiar with them. But if I remember correctly, you like to use the Pokémon alternately. After you release those sweethearts, that you don't know how many real sweethearts are left. Zahu said. There are more than 70 left. Xiaomao said embarrassedly. There are more than 70 left. Forget it, you're Pokémon, you have the final say. Anyway, putting them in the Oak Research Institute can be considered as releasing them. Zahu shook his head and sneered. Yes, so I released them all at my grandfather's house. Xiaomao said. Hey, what's the difference between releasing them and not releasing them? Zahu said. Yes, they can choose their trainers again. Xiaomao said. That's right, and how long will it take to get to the place where you are researching? Zahu said. Soon, we'll be there. And besides me, there's another person in the research institute, Brother Zahu, you know him too. Xiaomao deliberately kept the secret and didn't say the name. Someone I know? Zahu looked a little surprised. He knew so many people in the academic world that he couldn't count them all. Curious, I walked over and saw a young man lowering his head to take care of a few cute ankylosaurs. The young man noticed the movement, raised his head to look at Zahu and others, and smiled subtly. Kenshi? Zahu laughed. Good guy. It has been more than a year since the silver tournament in Johto. I didn't expect that this guy really stopped being a trainer and became a researcher. And he came all the way to Sinop. Zahu looked at Kenshi with a playful look and then glanced at Xiaomao. Originally, he thought that there was nothing wrong with studying ankylosaurs, but seeing these two people taking the lead, he always felt that something was wrong. One is the grandson of Professor Oak, an authority in the academic world, and the other is the younger brother of Professor Sora, who is also one of the most famous doctors in the academic world of Johto. Could this be a place to train famous doctoral students? Chapter 430, The Figure of Pokémon Hunter J. Observing Pokémon is a profound knowledge, which is a concentrated reflection of knowledge, experience, cognition and other factors. On Shianguan Mountain, Zahu held a scutellum and gave a lecture to Kenshi and Xiaomao. Kenshi and Xiaomao listened attentively. Although their ages were not much different from Zahu, and Kenshi was even older than Zahu, Zahu was definitely more than enough to be their teacher in terms of Pokémon knowledge. Because different Pokémons are observed, there are also different specific manifestations. For example, the scutellum has an extremely strong defense, especially the face. Among the fossils found in various places, it is almost impossible to find that the face of the scutellum fossils is damaged. And its more sensitive part is the chin under the face. Zahu gently rubbed the chin of the scutellum with his index finger, and the scutellum immediately showed a happy expression, rubbing Zahu intimately in Zahu's arms. It turns out that the scutellum will be very happy if you touch here. Xiaomao imitated Zahu and rubbed the yellow-brown body under the black shield-like head of the scutellum. However, his caressing did not make the shield ankylosaurus happy. On the contrary, the shield ankylosaurus showed an unhappy expression. Your strength and rhythm are not right. Slow down the rhythm. Zahu shook his head. Oh. Xiaomao immediately understood and hurriedly reduced his strength and slowed down the rhythm. The shield ankylosaurus immediately became happy again. Not bad. Zahu nodded, expressing his appreciation, and then talked about his experience in taking care of Pokémon. Boss. Someone here wants to snatch the shield ankylosaurus. Meow. Just when Zahu was teaching, Meow Meow suddenly ran over in a panic, rolling and crawling to Zahu's side. What's the matter? What's the matter? Tell me clearly. Zahu frowned slightly. He was not particularly surprised that someone came to catch the shield ankylosaurus. Although the shield ankylosaurus was not particularly strong, the shield ankylosaurus, a Pokémon that lived 100 million years ago, was a rare species with extremely high collection value. It was easy to attract the covetousness of evil collectors and Pokémon hunters. I don't know. There was a guy who wanted to snatch the scutum when he saw it, and I beat him back with my crazy grabbing. Meow. Meow said. Really? Then Xiaomao, stop basking in the sun and use your superpowers to sense the situation nearby. Zahu shouted to Lugia, who was lazily lying on the hillside. No problem. Lugia replied telepathically, flapping his wings, and the airflow surged. The terrifying superpower spread from his body and permeated every flower and grass on the entire mountain. There are two people still on the phone. Do you want to catch them? Lugia asked. Catch them? Zahu said. No problem. Lugia raised his head, and the blue fins on his body stood up. At the bottom of the mountain, two men in uniforms, who had just reported the information, suddenly froze and floated up uncontrollably. The two were panicked. What's going on? Which psychic Pokémon is controlling us? Hurry up and release the Pokémon to break free. How can we move now? Not to mention releasing the Pokémon. We can't even report to Lord J. The two people were in a panic. But under Lugia's terrifying telekinesis, the two people were no better than puppets. In extreme worry and fear, they were sent in front of Zahu by Lugia and thrown to the ground, knocked unconscious. The two men didn't care how their butts were smashed into pieces and looked at Lugia on the side with extremely strong greed in their eyes. This is a legendary sea god Lugia. That's right, and it's such a big size, and it's an adult. If we catch it and sell it, it will be a very good commodity. If we catch it, we can all upgrade. Yes, Lord J will definitely reward us. The legendary sea god is a high-end commodity. The extreme greed made the two men completely forget the fact that they were like puppets in Lugia's hands just now. It also made Zahu frown on the side, and he said coldly to Bangila on the side, "Bangila, evil wave." Bangila's face showed an even more ferocious expression. He roared violently, and purple-black energy waves burst out of his mouth, hitting the two men directly. The energy exploded, and the two men were all blown away and fell to the ground. Their clothes were tattered and tattered, like beggars from a beggar's den. Master J, you are the subordinates of the notorious Pokémon hunter J and Sinop. Zahu stood up lazily and looked down at the two people. Yes, we are all subordinates of Master J. Scutum and Lugia are the products that Master J likes. If you are smart, you will deliver them obediently, otherwise you will not be able to resist when Master J takes action himself. One of the two said, "Idiot. You respect a Pokémon hunter who is neither big nor small, and can only do dirty work for others. No wonder you two are not up to the standard." Zahu said disdainfully, "You don't understand the power of Master J at all. When Master J arrives, let's see if you still have this tone." One of the two said, "Okay, you can notify him now." Zahu waved his hand and said, as if he didn't take Pokémon hunter J seriously at all, "Okay." The two took action without saying a word and reported the news here to J. They were afraid that Zahu would control them and couldn't spread the news. Now Zahu gave them a chance. What are they afraid of? It's useless if it's passed on. Bangila, pull it over and play with the storm salamander. It's fine as long as it doesn't die, Zahu said. Bangila nodded, showed a grim smile, and roared at the storm salamander flying freely in the sky. It was not easy to evolve into a storm salamander, and it could fly freely in the sky, so unless it couldn't fly, the storm salamander would basically fly 24 hours a day. Hearing Bangila's roar, the storm salamander immediately understood, and hurriedly flew over, grabbed the two Pokémon hunters with its two thick claws, and then started playing with Bangila. Zahu glanced at it, and saw that it was not going to die, so he didn't say anything. If we talk about the most despised profession in the Pokémon world, it must be the Pokémon hunter. According to the statistics of the Hone League, the number of Pokémon in the Hone region who died or became disabled because of Pokémon hunters is in the 3 digits every year. As for the emotional damage such as separation of mother and child, it is not included in the statistics. So Zahu really has no sympathy for such people. Just leave him alive for the court trial. Boss, who is that J? Is he very powerful? Meow Meow asked curiously. Not bad. Zahu nodded. Pokémon Hunter J, the most notorious Pokémon hunter in Sinop, is quick and ruthless, and has the terrible skill of turning Pokémon into sand. He is the Pokémon hunter with the highest task completion rate on the black web. Basically, as long as you issue a task, Pokémon Hunter J can catch Pokémon for you, no matter how rare the Pokémon is. Although Zahu has been in Sinnoh for a short time, he still knows some information about J just from some information recorded by the Alliance. She has sold at least 6 land sharks, 8 Rylus, and 12 Gardevoirs. There are also many information that the Alliance has not registered in time, and Zahu has not remembered. She is a complete ruthless character, but in Zahu's heart, that's all. After experiencing the undercover life of the water fleet, Zahu has perfectly adapted to the combat role, and theft, robbery, and killing are not unfamiliar to him. The only dark side of the entire Sinnoh League that Zahu fears is Team Jinga, and he dares not take action casually. The rest are ignored. Pokémon Hunter J comes and solves this problem for the Sinnoh League. Chapter 431, The Hunter Seeking Death. In the sky near Shianguan Mountain, a huge invisible airship floated quietly, using the refraction of light. Neither the humans directly below nor the flying Pokémon in the sky could detect it. In the central control room of the airship, a cold-looking silver-haired woman listened to her subordinates' reports, and her face showed emotions. Poseidon Lugia, the highest and most valuable commodity. I didn't expect to come for the shield Ankylosaurus, but I accidentally discovered Lugia, a high-value commodity that is in short supply. Pokémon Hunter J, the most ruthless, famous, and confident hunter in the Sinnoh region. When others hear about Lugia, they will be greedy, but they will also think of Lugia's strength and be afraid. But Pokémon Hunter J is different. She is the purest profit-seeking businessman. As long as she can afford enough price, she will go, even if she is asked to catch Arceus. In the animation, they set their sights on Regigigas and the 3 sacred mushrooms, and both were successful. The former defeated the Holy Pillar King Regigigas and the 3 sacred pillars. If it weren't for Miss Junsha's arrival, which caused the task client to cancel the mission, because they thought it was too noisy, Regigigas and the 3 sacred pillars might have been captured, and the latter was really captured, although the price was that Hunter J was thrown into an unknown space and his life and death were unknown. There is no better word to describe Hunter J than lawlessness. Controlling the airship, Pokémon Hunter J flew openly in the direction of the Shyanga Shield Dragon. When he was about to reach the area, Hunter J opened the hatch directly, and a violent salamander emerged. Riding the violent salamander, he flew straight towards Zahu and others. Then the airship approached, and many chariots flew out of the airship. Except for Pokémon Hunter J, the rest of the actions were very secretive. But all this was not concealed from Lugia, who had been using his superpowers to sense the surrounding situation. Lugia's wings vibrated, and the whole Pokémon entered combat mode. The mythical beasts can sense people's hearts, and it can clearly feel the strong evil intentions of the visitor. I hate people flying around above my head the most. Zaluo, go and knock down that violent salamander. Also, be careful, Pokémon Hunter J has the technology to turn Pokémon into sand, and some high-tech weapons. Use flying skills to attack, and use superpowers to defend. Zahu warned. Pokémon Hunter J's strength is still very good, and that violent salamander is at the level of a king. But compared with Lugia, it seems insignificant. The real threat is that Pokémon Hunter J's sand turning technology. No one knows who invented it, can even turn mythical beasts into sand. And after turning Pokémon into sand, Pokémon can't make any reaction. Just like a real sand sculpture, it can be slaughtered and sold at will. Lugia nodded to show that he understood, and then quickly rose into the sky, flapped his wings, and the airflow in the sky was turbulent and violent, and the weather immediately changed drastically. The sky was covered with dark clouds and thunder rumbled. The dull thunder resounded throughout the Shyanga mountain, and the terrifying lightning swam between the clouds like a spirit snake. Then, the rain poured down, and the sky seemed to have opened up. Except for the place where Zahu and his group were, the rest of the place was covered with large areas of rain. Hunter J was no exception. He was washed by the rain, and showed a hint of displeasure on his face. Looking at Lugia flying freely in the sky, Hunter J said with cold eyes, "Commodities should look like commodities." He raised his right hand and a gun barrel suddenly shot out a pale yellow ray. Lugia looked puzzled, thinking that this should be the sandification technology that Zahu asked it to be wary of. Originally, he wanted to follow Zahu's instructions to dodge, but he was curious and wanted to try to see how powerful it was, so he didn't dodge. He was hit by the ray without moving. Lugia's body suddenly stiffened, and his feet began to turn into sand, turning into a solid sand sculpture, and losing consciousness. Lugia panicked immediately, and used his superpowers. A layer of green light burst out from his body, and the desertification immediately retreated and returned to its original state. Lugia was relieved and showed a look of relief. It can actually stop the desertification. It is indeed a product with extraordinary value. After the attack missed, Hunter J was not discouraged or afraid, but showed an even more excited expression. "Violent Salamander, destroy the death ray," Hunter J said. At the command, the violent salamander under Hunter J opened its mouth and shot a golden pillar of energy with terrifying power towards Lugia. Lugia was not afraid at all. He was almost desertified just now, and he was extremely angry in his heart. He screamed loudly, as if the world was angry. The golden light condensed in his mouth, and the destructive death ray also erupted. However, its power was far greater than that of the destruction ray of the salamander. The two powerful energies collided fiercely, but there was almost no stalemate. The destruction ray of the salamander was suppressed by Lugia's destruction ray. Pokémon Hunter J and Salamander were shot by the energy, and flew to the side. Salamander was severely injured, and almost unable to fly, but thinking of his trainer, he gritted his teeth, flapped his wings, and flew up suddenly to catch Hunter J. Let's go. Hunter J's face was slightly gloomy. Lugia's strength exceeded his expectations. This was not the first time she had captured a legendary beast. She once captured a shaman for a mission. It was also because of that reward that she had the current organization's subordinates, but this Lugia was completely different from the shaman she had met before. After receiving the signal from the organization, Hunter J said coldly, "Gather all the manpower and deploy them to the small river valley in front of Shianguan Mountain. Bring the newly purchased Sky Thunder launcher and electromagnetic net, as well as the crystal net that isolates superpowers. I want to make the sky our territory." Hunter J had a grim expression and flew forward with the Storm Salamander. This was not the first time she had done this. She was confident that she could avoid Lugia's attack. As for whether Lugia would follow, she was not worried at all. She would definitely do it. The Storm Salamander flew forward quickly with Hunter J, but before they escaped from the Shianguan Mountain, a tornado several tens high appeared out of nowhere in front of them, sweeping the Storm Salamander and Hunter J in. In the strong wind, the Storm Salamander and Hunter J felt top heavy and their bodies were completely out of control. As the strong wind blew, a strong feeling of fainting and vomiting came. Lugia flapped its huge wings, and its speed increased rapidly, as if it had crossed the limits of space. In the blink of an eye, it arrived in front of the Newt and Hunter J. It grabbed them with its feet, and flew back to Zehu. Then it threw the Newt and Hunter J down like trash. Then it flapped its wings, shaking off the clouds and rain in the sky, and the sun came out again. Lugia lowered its body with a meek look on its face, approached Zehu and said, "Brother Zehu, I have caught this bad woman and the bad Pokémon for you. Moreover, I found many other people coming up, and they seem to be targeting me. Is that so? Then you can take our good Newt, good Banjira and Steelix to play with them, and leave a deep impression on them. It would be best if they would have nightmares for the rest of their lives, and dare not be Pokémon hunters anymore." Zehu said, "Genji UI is best at nightmares. Brother Zehu, please transfer Jenga over here." Lugia said, "You're still playing? That's good. There's a Pokémon transporter here anyway." Zehu stood up with a smile and said to Xiaomeo and Kenji, "You two don't have to be idle. Call Miss Junsha to arrest all the Hunter Jays. Also, tell Dr. Yamanashi to strengthen the protection of the scutum. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels." Chapter 432 Separation. Thank you, Mr. Zehu. Hunter J is a criminal we have been looking for, but she is always quick and well organized. We have organized several operations but she escaped. Miss Junsha, who came after hearing the news, thanked Zehu. "It's just a small favor. It is a duty as citizens to be brave and righteous, not to mention that she is the former champion of the Hone region." Zehu smiled. "We will take Hunter J's people back. According to the crimes they committed, they will never be able to get out of prison in this life." Miss Junsha said, "That's not safe enough. All the Pokémon of this organizer should be released. Especially Hunter J's violent salamander. Just release it directly. Don't keep it." Zehu said, "Release it?" Miss Junsha showed a trace of doubt on her face. According to the different degrees of criminals' crimes, the criminals' Pokémon are also handled differently. Generally, they are still kept, but they are just kept before they are released from prison. For crimes like Hunter J, the right to use the Pokémon is deprived, but the treatment of the Pokémon is different. If they are strong, they will generally be tamed and become Pokémon recognized by the League's trainers, fighting for the League's just cause. Only in a few cases will they be released. Yes, release them." Zehu said. Of course he understood the League's operating procedures. However, Zehu did not trust the League very much. Hunter J has been rampant in Sinnoh for so many years, and it is unbelievable that he has no connection with government officials. It is even very likely that those government officials are Hunter J's buyers. Otherwise, the animation would not have interrupted the mission several times, because Junsha showed up and was afraid of being discovered, and trading with Hunter J is illegal. Once this news is released, those buyers will be in big trouble. So Hunter J will either be killed in advance or rescued. The former is the most likely possibility. After all, the Dark World has never been ruthless. Hunter J's small organization was destroyed by Lugia, and the Pokémon were all released. Hunter J is not of much value, and those without value will naturally be abandoned. But the latter is also possible. If the latter is chosen, the answer to whether Junsha and others can be locked up is obvious, and they definitely cannot be locked up. At least Zahu didn't hold out hope. For example, in the animation, Team Rocket's Suburo's group was arrested and taken to the police station several times, but they were all brought out by Sakaki. If Hunter J came out and saw the violent salamander again, the violent salamander would most likely follow him. After all, when a Pokémon is cultivated to the level of a king, the bond between the trainer and the Pokémon must be deep. As for whether Hunter J is a good guy or a bad guy, Violent Salamander doesn't care. As I said before, most Pokémon are not good or bad, they just obey the orders of their masters. Especially Violent Salamander itself carries violent and negative emotions. If it meets a trainer like Zahu, it's okay. The closer you are to the red, the more red it will be. It will become more and more like Zahu, but with Hunter J, who knows? Understood. Miss Junsha agreed after a little hesitation. Anyway, this violent salamander is unlikely to be given to her. Also, Mr. Zahu, if you capture Hunter J and notify the police will award you a banner of the SYNOPSIS League Good Citizen and a bonus of 50,000 yuan. Mr. Zahu, is there anything you are not satisfied with? If you are not satisfied, you can apply for other rewards, such as Pokémon eggs. Miss Junsha said. The reward she mentioned is for those who greatly assist the police in the process of capturing Hunter J, but Zahu is not assisting at all. It is clear that the police are assisting Zahu and just helping him. In addition, Zahu's identity is not ordinary, so Miss Junsha took the initiative to say that she can raise the price. No, let's leave it at that. Zahu said. Although the merit is great, capturing Hunter J is definitely a first-class merit. It protects countless rare Pokémon, which is more than enough to exchange for a shark. But what kind of character is the Alliance? How can Zahu not know it? No matter where it is, they are all stingy. Not to mention Shark, even the 3 starters may not give you one. Moreover, Zahu has limited energy. He has no intention to capture and train Pokémon. Now he just wants to gather the 6 quasi-gods and get a slimy Pokémon or around land shark. He has no intention to capture the rest. So he will not be satisfied anyway. A little more, a little less, it doesn't matter. Mr. Zahu is worthy of being a famous doctor, and his character is admirable. Miss Junsha said. Not really. Besides, how dare I call myself a doctor in front of Dr. Yamanashi? Zahu said. If you don't count, then I probably don't count either. Hearing Zahu's words, Dr. Yamanashi came over and said. Miss Junsha saw Dr. Yamanashi coming over, looking at Dr. Yamanashi's face that was intimidating without anger and had a ghost face effect, and subconsciously wanted to stay away. In addition, Hunter J's capture work had to be finished, so she left on her own and took care of the work. Drive Yamanashi's research on evolution is far behind me, Zahu said with a smile. Although Dr. Yamanashi's face was terrifying, after staying with Dr. Yamanashi for a long time, he got used to his face and had no psychological burden at all. Stop making jokes. How was your trip? Dr. Yamanashi said. Not bad, it went well. Is there anything? Zahu said. Yes, I plan to hold a 7-day Pokémon lecture. Are you free to come and be a mentor? Dr. Yamanashi said. No problem, I have a lot of time recently. As long as the journey is not in time, I will go. Zahu said. I will contact you after the time is confirmed. Dr. Yamanashi said. Okay. Zahu nodded and agreed, and discussed some academic issues with Dr. Yamanashi, and finally parted ways. Dr. Yamanashi returned to the Yamanashi Research Institute with his fellow researcher assistants, Kenji and Scutasaurus. Zahu and Xiaomeo also continued their respective journeys. Brother Zahu, I will be more mature when we meet next time. Xiaomeo said. I look forward to your growth, and you and Blastoise will definitely become stronger by then. Zahu said. Yes, at least we have to catch up with Brother Zahu's Latius. This is the goal at Blastoise, and I will strive for in Kalos. Xiaomeo said. Looking forward to it. Zahu smiled slightly, but in his heart he thought, although Latius did not come out with him and accept his growth, but in the 6 months of researching the Mega Evolution Stone, I have trained its combat ability after Mega Evolution. If it does not Mega Evolve, Xiaomeo's Mega Blastoise can still fight, but if it Mega Evolves, it will be very embarrassing. You know, even Xiao's weak sister, Latius, was weak before Mega Evolution, but after Mega Evolution, she is also a king level main force. Although fighting is ever changing and nothing is certain, Xiaomeo's possibility of winning is indeed low. Under the setting sun, a group of people are moving towards their respective goals. Chapter 433, Chasing the Metal Monster. After parting with Xiaomeo, Zahu and his group continued to move towards the city of Eno, crossed the west side of Mount Tenkan, and came to the east side of Mount Tenkan. At noon, they found a stream, and Zahu and his group prepared to rest and make a fire. Just after releasing the metal monster fell into an inexplicable excitement, dancing happily, and playing with Fenglingling in the air. Metal monster, what's wrong? Meow. Meow meow asked curiously. Maybe the magnetic field here promotes the metal monster, Zahu said. Oh, that's right. The Sinnoh Region Tourism magazine said that Mount Tenkan is the highest peak in Sinnoh, dividing the Sinnoh region into 2 sides. The magnetic fields on both sides are completely different and finally converge here, which makes the magnetic field of Mount Tenkan very special. For example, Chaobai and Magneto can only evolve into Big Chaobai and Magneto in Chianguan Mountain. Kajiro said. Yes, the magnetic field here is very special. After discovering that Magnetron and Magnetron can evolve here, the scholars of Sinnoh began to study and simulate the magnetic field here to make Magnetron and Magnetron evolve, but up to now, they still haven't simulated the magnetic field with full effect. After 10 years of research, they only managed to evolve Magnetron 2 years ago, and the success rate was shockingly low. So this place is still unique at present, Zahu said. But why is Metallo so happy? It evolves Metagross, and it doesn't need the magnetic field here, Kajiro said. Because Metallo relies on magnetism to fly freely, especially its characteristic is that it likes magnetic Pokémon. This kind of magnetism is also good for Metallo's improvement, Zahu said. I see. Kajiro was a little bit surprised and suddenly saw Metallo flying quickly in one direction, as if it had taken drugs, just like a starving wild dog seeing a meat bone, and disappeared in front of Zahu and others without even saying hello to Zahu. Hey, what happened? The metal monster ran away, Kajiro shouted. Chase it, Zahu said unhappily, and chased after the metal monster. What else could he do? Of course he chased it. Kajiro and his companions also reacted quickly and followed Zahu to chase after it. After running for a long way, they were stunned by the scene in front of them. They saw that the metal monster was madly chasing a chibi, and it was not chasing like a Pokémon hunting, but chasing like courtship. Are metal monsters and chibi not the same species? They can mate. Kajiro looked very surprised. When Zahu heard this, he patted Kajiro's head in annoyance and said, I nominated you to be a Pokémon doctor last time, but now you are asking me such a low-level question. Is this a reproduction problem? It is said that the characteristic of metal monsters is that they like magnetic Pokémon, and their favorite is the North Pole. Basically, they will chase them when they meet. But in this situation, I think it seems like courtship. Just like when Meow Meow saw North Pole Meow, she would not let go after she saw it. Kajiro said. Nonsense, I pamper North Pole Meow like a sister. Meow. Meow Meow retorted loudly. Really as a sister? Zahu looked at Meow Meow with suspicion. Based on the way they usually get along, sister? Are you kidding me? Kona and Kajiro also had the same suspicious expression. Is this a sister? Yes, partner, good partner, best partner. Meow Meow shouted. The best partner, shouldn't it be Kajiro? The two of you are so good that you can wear the same pants, Zahu said. Don't come on, boss, you are my most loyal boss, and Zyajiro is just my little brother. Meow Meow said. Bullshit, you are my little brother. No, it should be me, I don't even have the qualifications to be my little brother. Zyajiro retorted. You are not even qualified to be my little brother's little brother. Meow Meow glared at Zyajiro, not to be outdone. The man and the cat stared at each other with big eyes. Zahu just pretended not to know. Anyway, this was not the first time. Even if the two quarreled, nothing would happen. They would still be good brothers the next day. On the contrary, the situation of Metal Monster made Zahu look helpless. He didn't encounter Cheobibi much before, and the problem didn't break out. Now that he encountered Cheobibi in Chianguan Mountain, the problem broke out. How to end it is still a problem. If the Pokémon Ball is forcibly taken back, Metal Monster can come out by itself. Just as he was thinking, an order suddenly came. Cheobibi, use electric discharge. Cheobibi, who was being chased by the Metal Monster and was getting impatient, heard the trainer's command and immediately used his special move, releasing a strong electric current, and rushed towards the Metal Monster. The Metal Monster was hit as expected and flew back to Zahu pitifully. It looked at Zahu with a pleading expression and gave the order, "I will beat it." Zahu slapped the Metal Monster's head in annoyance and said, "You went to harass others and got beaten. What else do you want? Be honest and come back by yourself." The Metal Monster looked aggrieved and floated beside Zahu pitifully, but his eyes were still full of interest when he looked at Cheobibi, which made Cheobibi scared. "I'm sorry, I didn't take good care of my Metal Monster and caused you trouble." Zahu took the initiative to apologize. Although he was attacked, it was indeed his fault. No, just take good care of it in the future. If you are in Chianguan Mountain, it is best to collect all the Metal Monsters in the Pokeball. In order to evolve the Cheobi into a big Cheobi, a large number of trainers will bring Cheobi to Chianguan Mountain every once in a while. The trainer of Cheobi is a blonde girl of about 14 or 15 years old. She is dressed in a capable expedition outfit and looks heroic. She did not blame the Metal Monsters for their behavior, but instead made suggestions. "I see, thank you. I also forgot that there is a 3-in-1 Magnetron and Cheobi evolution here," Zahu said. Seeing that Zahu knew, the girl responded and was about to leave, but saw an old man slowly walking over and said, "Lemmy, why are you in such a hurry to leave? Aren't you looking for an excellent trainer to fight with, so that Cheobi can accumulate enough experience to evolve?" The trainer of the Metal Monster next to you is Zahu, the former champion and the strongest champion in the Hone region. Zahu looked curiously. Although his identity was not a secret, it was not to the point where passers-by could know it. Curiously looking at the old man not far away, he was about 70 years old, with grey hair and a Mediterranean hairstyle. He looked quite funny, but his eyes were sharp and bright, which made people not laugh, but rather restrained. Zahu felt vaguely familiar, but for a moment he couldn't remember who this person was. "Mr. Dongbo." Kona recognized the old man's identity first, and exclaimed in surprise. Chapter 434 Giant Electromagnetic Cannon. "Mr. Dongbo." Zahu suddenly realized and recognized the other party's identity. From Lakeside City, a former gym trainer, once the strongest gym trainer in Sinop. He is considered to be able to fight against the king. He is also half the teacher of the current Fire King Day. He has a wide reputation in the Alliance, and is a respected old senior. Similar to Zaibo of Guangnan Crimson Island and Liubo of Kaju Town in Johto. The strength of both of you is not worse than mine. There is no need to add the suffix of Mr. Dongbo said. Every gym trainer is worthy of respect, let alone a gym trainer like Mr. Dongbo who is so respected and has devoted his life to training new trainers. I just didn't expect Mr. Dongbo to come here after resigning from his position as a gym trainer. Zahu said. Others may not care, but Zahu can't help but call him. The elderly are generally respected here, and Dongbo is indeed an old man who has made contributions, so adding Mr. is natural. The magnetic field here is special, very suitable for training magnetic Pokémon like Cheobi. Naturally, I came here. After training new trainers for a long time, I always have to consider myself. I wonder if you are interested in using the metal monster just now to compete with my granddaughter's Cheobi? Dongbo said. Perhaps it was Zahu's words that all trainers are worthy of respect that softened Dongbo's expression. Fight against Cheobi? Zahu raised his eyebrows slightly. He wanted him to bully the weak again. Don't be careless. In Chianguan Mountain, Cheobi and Magnemite are both very strong Pokémon. Dongbo said meaningfully. Oh. Zahu's expression changed slightly. People at Dongbo's level would not speak without purpose, especially Dongbo's main Pokémon are Magnetron and Big Cheobi. These two Pokémon must be evolved in Xianguan Mountain, so the research on Xianguan Mountain's magnetic field, Cheobi, and Magnemite will not be bad. Glancing at Lemmy and Cheobi, Zhihui smiled and said, okay, let's compete, and teach Metal Monster a lesson, so that it can control itself. Then let me be the referee. Lemmy, get ready. Dongbo said. Got it, Grandpa. Lemmy nodded solemnly, and looked at Zhihui again and said, Mr. Zhihui, please teach me. It's just a competition, and maybe I will be the one being taught. Zhihui smiled and released Metal Monster. As soon as Metal Monster released the treasure ball, it saw Cheobi on the opposite side, and its eyes showed excited little stars, and it wanted to pounce on it. Fortunately, Zhihui was prepared. He grabbed Metal Monster's arm with one hand and said, stop it. Play well, otherwise, you will be electrocuted in a while. Metal Monster remembered the feeling of being electrocuted just now, and seemed to be still in fear. He looked at Cheobi on the opposite side with a serious look. Seeing this, Zahu smiled and let go of the Metal Monster's hand, and said to Lemmy, please. Although everyone is about the same age, Zahu is only 3 or 4 years older than Lemmy, but their status is very different, so he generously acted as a senior. Lemmy was not polite, and said directly, Cheobi, use Rockfall. Cheobi's huge red rock nose flashed, and a small piece of gravel appeared, and spun towards the Metal Monster. Meteor Fist. Zahu said. The Metal Monster swung out 2 extremely hard iron fists, piercing through all the rocks head on, and hit Cheobi straight, with no intention of showing mercy, as if the one who was chasing just now was not it. After a punch, Cheobi's bulky body couldn't help but take a step back. Cheobi, use Sandstorm. Lemmy said. Cheobi's rock red nose emitted a burst of blowlight, and a gust of wind and sand immediately rose in the venue, blocking everyone's sight, and they couldn't see the situation of the two Pokémon clearly. Why use wind and sand? It blocks the view. Meow. Meow meow said curiously. Stupid. Cheobi's nose is a natural magnet with a strong tracking effect. Steel type Pokémon like Metal Monster, which is covered in metal, can be easily tracked. Even the wind and sand can't block it. This is a tactic. Kajiro taught Meow Meow with a smug look on his face. Won't the boss suffer a loss? Meow Meow looked at the wind and sand on the field worriedly. But Zahu seemed to have not seen the wind and sand in front of him at all, and said decisively, maximum power, Meteor Punch. Metal Monster in the wind and sand received the order, and punched without thinking. Following the induction, it hit Cheobi's body, and knocked Cheobi out of the smoke. The smoke was dispersed, but the huge rock nose shone brighter. Kajiro, didn't you say that Cheobi had the advantage? Why was Cheobi beaten out? Meow Meow asked. Kajiro was speechless. This was different from what he imagined. Cheobi's big nose can sense it, but the Metal Monster also has the instinct to sense magnetism, just like it chased after Cheobi when it saw him before. So the wind and sand actually have no effect at all, because both sides can sense each other. On the contrary, Cheobi feels that his plan has succeeded, and he is too complacent, which will lead to failure. Kona explained, but he looked at Lemmy, who was still calm, even though his plans failed several times, with a strange expression on his face. When he saw the Metal Monster chasing Cheobi at the beginning, Lemmy said that there were many Cheobi here, and asked Zahu not to release the Metal Monster. Obviously, she knew the characteristics of the Metal Monster, and should not make such an obvious mistake. Something must be wrong when something is abnormal. Metal Monster, use Meteor Fist, end it. Zahu said. The Metal Monster's fists shone with cold light, and it launched a fatal blow to Cheobi with great momentum. The red rock nose of Cheobi was shining more and more, and there was a faint flash of electricity. Lemmy looked at the Metal Monster rushing straight towards Cheobi, and showed a confident smile. Cheobi, the most powerful, the electromagnetic cannon. A shining energy cannon immediately appeared on Cheobi's red nose. The surrounding magnetic force quickly flowed over, and converted into powerful electricity, converging on Cheobi's electromagnetic cannon. In the blink of an eye, an electromagnetic cannon energy bomb that was originally only the size of a basketball expanded more than 3 times, and its volume was even larger than Cheobibi's. The metal monster was getting closer to Cheobibi because of the meteor punch, and there was no way to hide. The large electromagnetic cannon hit, and a sandstorm several times larger than before burst out, blocking everyone's sight. The girl Lemmy showed a smug smile on her face. Although she didn't beat the opponent's main Pokémon, she still won a championship game, and it was something worth showing off. It can absorb the magnetic force of Xianguan Mountain so cleverly, and turn it into its own electric current. It's an amazing trick. Kona exclaimed. Boss lady, the boss is about to lose, but he still praises the enemy's strength. Meow meow said Dicitus feebly. If you lose, you lose. What's the big deal? Can't you lose after becoming the champion? Face? Honor? Identity? It's hard for a trainer who can't afford to lose to grow. It was a deliberate plan, and the electromagnetic cannon just now was powerful enough for the ultimate move of the king level Pokémon. It's not unfair to lose, Kona said. Indeed. Dongbo also nodded and agreed with Kona's idea. Wait a minute, did you miss something? Mr. Dongbo, as a referee, you can't make a hasty judgment before seeing the Pokémon, right? Zahu suddenly said, with a faint smile on his face. On the field, the smoke and sand dissipated, and the smooth metal surface of the metal monster was covered with scars, but it still floated firmly in the air. How is it possible? The electromagnetic cannon that Cheobibi fired just now, the metal monster couldn't possibly take it. Lemmy said in disbelief. The electromagnetic cannon just now almost exhausted all of Cheobibi's physical strength. Even a king level Pokémon would suffer a great loss if he didn't pay attention, not to mention Zahu, the metal monster. She could see that the strength was not very strong. Hold it. Dongbo stared at the metal monster and spat out 2 words with a shrewd look. Yes, hold it. Zahu nodded and said, Lemmy's tactics are very good. She deliberately used 2 failures to lure me, wanting me to feel that Lemmy is not special, but simply weak. Then, when the metal monster approaches, she will use the strong magnetic field around her to convert the magnetic force into electricity, intending to kill with one blow. Unfortunately, there are still some shortcomings. Cheobibi's nose is too obvious. Cheobibi's electromagnetic cannon is indeed very powerful. Even without the bonus, it has 120 power in the game, but the hit rate is low. Now after converting the magnetic force around it, it is really terrifying. Even if the metal monster used hold, it was not safe and sound. The hold was directly broken. Fortunately, she managed to hold on. After she held on, the next one who couldn't hold on was Cheobibi. Using a trick beyond one's ability had a price, and now he was too weak to stand. I see. Now Lemmy loses, Dongbo pronounced. Chapter 435 Research on Magnetism. Come back, Cheobi. Hearing the verdict of her grandfather, Lemmy did not refute, but directly took back Cheobi, which had little physical strength. Thank you Mr. Zahu for your advice, Lemmy said. Although she lost, she also saw the style of the champion. Even if she didn't use the main Pokémon, she still won. There was no advice, just a mutual exchange. And this game also gave me a lot of inspiration. I didn't expect Cheobi to be able to absorb the surrounding magnetic force so easily and convert it into electric attack. It really scared me, Zahu said. Pokémon can absorb external power to achieve a short-term improvement. This is not uncommon in the Pokémon world. Shinji and Zyozzy are both representatives. In the original animation, the reason why Shinji took the initiative to find Zyozzy was to let the electric monster absorb the electricity of Pikachu's Volt attack, to enhance the strength of the electric monster, and to participate in the doubles meeting, wanting to use the flames of the opponent's fire Pokémon to enhance the power of the little flame monkey. As for Zyozzy, let alone Pikachu, he has been using electricity every day for countless times. The strongest one was in the Unova region, where he absorbed the electricity of the thundercloud and smashed out a huge electric ball. However, this BB has improved much more than the electric monster, but its own qualifications are not as amazing as Pikachu. It can only be said that Lemmy has mastered some key. This is my grandfather's discovery. The magnetic field here in Chyanguan Mountain has greatly improved the strength of BB and Magnemite. The huge electromagnetic cannon just now is just one of them. In addition, as long as the right method is used and trained here, the strength of Magnemite and BB can be fundamentally improved, and even the qualifications can be improved. Lemmy said. Improve the qualifications? Zahu looked at Dangbo in surprise. Sure enough, these old people are all treasures. With first-class talent and time, it would be strange if they can't research anything. It's just a small improvement, and it can't be improved continuously. Dangbo said. It's already a great research to be able to improve the qualifications of Pokémon. Zahu said. Pokémon qualifications can be said to be more important than the race value of Pokémon. Being able to improve slightly is already a great ability. Dangbo didn't say much, but there was a hint of joy in the corner of his eyes. He was obviously very satisfied with Zahu's compliment. After all, the compliment of a champion and a doctor is very valuable. Since I quit my job as a gym trainer, I came here and lived here for a long time. Are you interested in visiting my home? Dangbo said. Of course, I also want to see Dangbo's 2 trump cards, Magneto and Dacheo BB. Zahu smiled. Although it is a bit suspicious that an electric gym trainer has only one of the 2 strongest trump cards, but in a world where all flying Pokémon can call themselves the king of dragon type Pokémon, what does it mean? Dangbo nodded and walked in front alone. Although he was old, he was more agile than a boy of 17 or 18 years old. He walked as fast as a flying horse, and walked faster than Zahu and others. Following Dangbo, ZHIHUI and others passed through a winding path and a forest before finally arriving at an empty valley. There was no one around, but it was not quiet. There were only protruding rocks, and small magnetic monsters and 3-in-1 magnetic monsters floating on the rocks. The scenery was monotonous and almost desolate. After that, there was a simple and unique thatched house on the side of the valley. Dangbo took ZHIHUI and others in, went to the kitchen to pour out the water in the kettle, and handed it to ZHIHUI and others. ZHIHUI was slightly curious at first. In this place, where few people go, and no birds lay eggs, there is actually electricity. However, when he saw the pile of small magnetic monsters outside, he immediately understood, and laughed at himself for being stupid. With these small magnetic monsters and 3-in-1 magnetic monsters, how could there be no electricity? These children are all carefully cultivated by me, and they are full of potential. In time, they will all become powerful Pokémon. Dangbo said. I just don't know who are the lucky ones who become their trainers. But according to this research, maybe one day, I will call you the master of magnetic Pokémon. ZHIHUI said. It's a pity that there are only these Pokémon that can use magnetism, and it's hard to make a big change. Dangbo sighed. He felt that Zahu called him Mr. before, which was too polite, but now when he was praised as the master of magnetic Pokémon, he did not refuse, because the master of magnetic Pokémon just scratched his itch. Being able to change a Pokémon is already a great feat, and a class of Pokémon is even more great. After all, things that are not very useful today may bring about earth-shaking changes in the future. But no matter what, I believe that Mr. Dangbo's name will be in the textbooks of the league in the future. Zahu said. There are indeed not many Pokémon in Sinnoh that can use magnetism, just Magnetron and Cheobi, and at most an Iron Dumbbell that appears occasionally, but the ability to change a class of Pokémon is a proof of strength. If you want to leave your name in the league textbook, it must be you. With your current achievements, whether it is heroic legends or scientific works, it is indispensable. Dangbo said with a smile on his tense face. Zahu smiled and talked a lot with Dangbo. Although the two were much older, they had the same knowledge level and got along very well. After a long time, Zahu said, Mr. Dangbo has also seen my metal monster. I wanted to learn here. I wonder if Mr. Dangbo can agree. It's just a small matter. If you don't mind, I can help you train it. Dangbo said. I couldn't ask for more. Zahu was slightly stunned, and then said happily that Dangbo was absolutely professional in training magnetic Pokémon. With his help, the metal monster can greatly improve its strength. Lemmy, who was standing next to him, was slightly stunned and looked at her grandfather in confusion. She knew her grandfather best. He had a withdrawn personality. Although he was soft-hearted, He was hard-mouthed and often put on an expression that kept people at a distance. This kind of initiative to help others train Pokémon was the first time he had seen it. Dongbo turned his head and looked at Lemmy and sighed slightly in his heart. He offered to help Zahu train Pokémon, partly because he had a good impression of Zahu. In short, he liked Zahu, but the main reason was to accumulate some connections for his granddaughter. Dongbo himself had almost reached the point of having no desires. At his age, money and other things were not very attractive. Anyway, there was only so much time left, and he had both fame and status. Apart from some desires in the research of magnetic Pokémon, the rest did not matter. As long as he did not interfere with the major policies of the Alliance or some matters that involved a wide range of people, in a general sense, Dongbo had reached the point where he could do whatever he wanted. Living in Xianguan Mountain was even more comfortable, without having to look at anyone's eyes, and he was free. But he could be wild, but his granddaughter could not. He could live in Xianguan Mountain permanently and spend the rest of his life, but his granddaughter could not. Wouldn't it be a waste to live in seclusion with an old man like him in her prime? So while he was still alive, he would pave the way a little. There were only benefits, no harm, to establish a relationship with a young hero of the Alliance like Zahu. Chapter 436 Foster Care. Xianguan Mountain. Magnetic Valley. On the rock pillars, a group of magnets had blue currents surging from their bodies, floating freely in the air, plasma flowing, and occasionally emitting currents to attack the heart scales on the rock pillars. Heart scales jumped flexibly on the uneven rock pillars, and its small body burst out with incredible power, fighting continuously into the powerful current of magnets. The magnets fought collectively, relying on the changes in the current, fighting in an orderly manner, until one of the magnets' action stagnated. Heart scales suddenly jumped up, and the heart-shaped scales on its head rubbed and glowed, hitting the body of magnets fiercely, knocking magnets out of the team. Just after knocking out one magnet, the remaining group of magnets had a strong blue current surging from their bodies, directly to Heart Scales, and Heart Scales was immediately electrocuted to a crisp on the outside and tender on the inside, falling from the air on the rock pillar, revealing a hint of anger, and then fighting hard. Although the cub is young, it has grown up. Kona, who was holding Eevee, looked at the Heart Scale who was being electrified with a bit of heartache. This Pokémon was raised by her, and she always had different emotions, but as a top trainer, she knew that this was necessary. If jade is not polished, it will not become a useful tool. Success is never obtained casually. If you want to become a powerful Pokémon, you must pay unimaginable sweat during the period. Heart Scale has gradually passed the fragile infancy and is transitioning to childhood, and Pokémon childhood is to start learning how to fight. Heart Scale's character is also becoming more and more resolute, and it is beginning to transition to a warrior. Zahu watched from a distance and nodded slightly to Heart Scale's performance, expressing his approval. He has been here for almost a week, mainly training Metal Monster with Dongbo. During this process, Metal Monster's ability is growing in an extremely optimistic situation. The ability of electromagnetic floating is used to perfection, and now the flexible fighting in the air is almost no less than that of the flying type. But since he has lived here for so long, Zahu certainly will not only train Metal Monster, and the other Pokémon must follow. Especially the newborn, Heart Scale, needs to be trained more. So I asked these little magnets to train Heart Scale. After all, dragons are resistant to electricity, so it won't hurt too much if they are hurt. The effect is also remarkable. Heart Scale's ability to resist electricity is rapidly improving. Now Heart Scale doesn't care about ordinary electric current. Dongbo looked closely at Metal Monster surrounded by a group of 3-in-1 magnets, revealing a different emotion. He has cultivated many magnetic Pokémon, but it is the first time he has encountered one that is so skilled in electromagnetic levitation like Metal Monster. Now Metal Monster's floating combat ability has completely surpassed magnets, and can be compared with the powerful ones among the 3-in-1 magnets. This kind of talented Pokémon is really rare. Hesitantly, Dongbo found Zahu and said, "Mr. Zahu, I want to talk to you about something." Zahu looked at Dongbo in astonishment. He and Dongbo had a relationship where neither of them had to ask for help from the other, and they got along well. In terms of addressing, even if it was the age difference, Dongbo would call the name directly. He deliberately added Mr., which must be something. Curious, Zahu followed Dangbo to the side and asked, "What's the matter?" "It's like this. During this period of time, I found that Metallica has a very special electromagnetic talent while training. I think if I let it train here for a longer period of time, I can better improve its overall ability," Dangbo said. Huh. Zahu's expression changed slightly. Why did these words sound so much like what Zyozzy would hear when he asked his Pokémon to leave the team? Infernape, Scorpion, and Charizard were all exactly the same. Sure enough, Dangbo said next, "I hope you can put Metallica here temporarily, let me train it, and take it away when its strength is improved enough." Zahu frowned slightly, looked at Dangbo, and thought, this guy's not going to cheat his Metallica like the trainer named Fandao cheated Zyozzy's Infernape. Thousands of thoughts flashed through his mind, and finally Zahu smiled and said, "It is Metallo's luck to be trained by Mr. Dangbo. I believe that under Mr. Dangbo's training, Metallo's strength will surely improve by leaps and bounds." "Definitely." Dangbo was relieved to see Zahu agreed. In fact, he was taking advantage of Zahu by training Metallo for him. After all, after training, Metallo would also belong to Zahu, not to him. However, as an excellent gym trainer, training excellent Pokémon trainers and Pokémon is a strong interest for him. Moreover, Metallo is a Pokémon that Dangbo has never trained, which is more challenging. Zahu looked at Metallo among a group of 3 and 1 Magneto and nodded. This matter was indeed beneficial to him. After all, the Pokémon he trained was his, and the powerful one was also his. It was just that he was influenced by the animation in his previous life, and his mind was not clear for a while. There is always a feeling that handing Pokémon to other trainers for training and letting Pokémon leave the team is like releasing them. Just like Greninja was borrowed by Z-God and never came back. It gives people the illusion of being released. But in fact, in order to allow the Pokémon of the new world to show up and have a chance to perform, the Pokémon of the previous generation, except Pikachu, are basically unable to show up. Long-tailed Pokémon is against the sky, following from Kanto to SYNOPSIS, but was later exchanged by Zyozzy and was finally sent away completely. So is there any difference between being borrowed out and staying in the research institute? Anyway, it will not be called out. And if it is really needed, Greninja can come back at any time using various methods. In fact, if it is not for the step-by-step plot, but normal logic, when Zyozzy grows up, after a few years, Greninja will come back by itself. Temporarily entrusting it to other trainers for training is completely different from releasing Pokémon. Zahu inexplicably felt a sense of sudden realization, and suddenly felt a little sorry for Zyozzy, because that guy didn't seem to be a master of releasing. After careful calculation, Zyozzy seemed to have only released 5 Pokémon: Butterfree, Pidgeot, Dragonite, Slimy, and Toxapeus. Even if you add the 3 borrowed Pokémon, Infernape, Greninja, and Squirtle, there are only 8. Moreover, among the 8, many of them had no choice. Butterfree is in love. Can you stop it? It's fine if you, Zyozzy, will be single for the rest of your life, but you want to harm your Pokémon? Pidgeot has to suppress Toucan, so you can't not release it. In fact, although Pidgeot is the final evolution, it has no strength, except being a hard-working bird in Zyozzy's hands. Many people take it for granted that it is very strong. Not to mention Dragonite, it has to find a tribe for it, and return to its mother's arms. Poliwag can't be considered as releasing it. It was Poliwag that wanted to return to its tribe. It's really a pity that melodrama, but melodrama has no future with Zyozzy, and Zyozzy can't use melodrama well. In Zyozzy's hands, melodrama is not as good as Sonic. As for the rest of the Haunter and Killer, Zyozzy didn't capture them at all, so how can he release them? Moreover, Butterfree, Pidgeot, and Dragonite were all released during the trip to Kanto and the Orange Islands. They were new to the trip and relatively inexperienced, so it was understandable. Thinking of this, Zahu couldn't help but look thoughtful. Did I always blame my brother wrongly? That kid has grown up. Zahu. Dangbo couldn't help but call out when he saw Zahu in a daze. Oh, it's okay. Metal Monster, I'll leave it to Mr. Dangbo next. Zahu said. Sure. Dangbo said. Chapter 437 Arrival at the City of Edge. Boss, you just gave the metal monster to Dungbo. Aren't you afraid that he will take your metal monster? Meow Meow muttered after leaving Xianguan Mountain. Don't judge a gentleman by your own mean heart. Dungbo's character is still trustworthy. Zahu smiled. It's better to be safe than sorry. Boss, do you trust him so much? Meow Meow said. Yes, he is much more reliable than you. Zahu said casually. Trust or not, this question is very meaningful. If you say how much you trust Dungbo, it would be false. After all, they have known each other for a short time, only a week. But firstly, Zahu believes in Dungbo's integrity as a professional gym trainer, and secondly, Zahu is confident that he can get it back. Even if Dungbo hides in the mountains, Zahu now has the energy to find him out. Not to mention that it is completely impossible to hide in the mountains for a lifetime. If Dungbo doesn't come out, his granddaughter Lemmy will have to come out. So Zahu is fearless and believes that Dungbo will not make such a stupid mistake. Nonsense. Meow Meow is the most reliable. Meow Meow cried out in dissatisfaction, and the cat next to him also cried out obediently. It was so cute, fulfilling the duties of a cute little Meow Meow. Zahu smiled slightly, pretended not to hear, and continued his journey. After walking for a few days, Zahu and others finally arrived at the city of Anew, the location of the third gym in Sinop. However, the phenomenon in front of them surprised Zahu and his group. They saw that the door of the gym in Anew City was closed, and there was only a sign hanging on the door. The gym trainer went out for training, and the Anew gym was temporarily closed. Boss, can the gym still operate like this? Isn't it said that gym trainers can't refuse the challenge of trainers? Kajiro was surprised. This was the first time he saw this operation. Yes, the traveling trainer issued a challenge, and as a gym trainer, you can't refuse the challenge. But if the gym trainer is not in the gym, that's of course another matter. Zahu said. This works. Kajiro was amazed. Of course, rules are something that people can exploit by nature. As for being out of tune, there are so many gym trainers who are out of tune. Zahu said. Think about it, the champions of Hone. Don't you think the behavior of the gym trainers of Hone's gym is much more reasonable? Kona smiled. Yes. Kajiro suddenly realized and understood instantly. The gym match can't be held, but there is still the grand contest to try. Zahu said. No way. Boss, you come again. Kajiro said with despair and disgust. This grand contest is a doubles match between two Pokémon. I haven't played many such battles, let alone the performance battles of the grand contest. Of course, I have to have fun. Zahu smiled. So I'm going to be unlucky again. Kajiro said. Kajiro, have some ambition. Didn't you say you wanted to be a coordination master? Why are you so scared of your boss? Use the coordination battle to teach your boss a lesson. Kona said. Unless the boss uses a newly captured Pokémon like Hard Scale. Otherwise, if he can't win, he will force my Pokémon to lose its fighting ability. Kajiro looked at Zahu with resentment. Then improve your Pokémon's fighting ability. Even the gorgeous competition requires strength. Without strength, no matter how gorgeous the performance is, you will be knocked down and lose all points. Kona said. But if you train Pokémon strictly, I will feel bad. Kajiro said. Okay, don't say anything more to this useless guy. He just gave me Pokémon to train and then thought about making money. Zahu said. That's because the boss is wise. The Pokémon trained by the boss is the best in the world. I just need to think about tactics and cultivate tacit understanding with Pokémon. Kajiro said with a relaxed look. If Meowth leaves Zahu, he may starve to death the next day. If you leave Zahu, you won't even be a Pokémon trainer. Kona said so it's the boss who has spoiled us. Kajiro said. That's it. Meow. Meow echoed. Get lost. Zahu kicked Kajiro and Meow Meow on the buttocks without any hesitation. It was indeed Zahu's fault that Meow Meow was useless. When they were not familiar with each other, in order to prevent Meow Meow from escaping, he designed a tactical policy to make Meow Meow useless, but Kajiro was not responsible for this. It was obviously Kajiro's own poor ability in training Pokémon. From beginning to end in the animation, Musashi and Kajiro had never trained Pokémon. Some strong Pokémon joined the team and gradually became cannon fodder, such as the snake, that once suppressed all the Pokémon of Xiaozi and the other two, and Mimikyu that beat Pikachu as soon as it appeared, but later, it was all forgotten. In order to let Desert Nadia learn to absorb punches, Kajiro even gave up, and was forced to entrust Desert Nadia to the trainer Nano of the EME gym. There was also the grand contest, where they had no chance, and were eliminated in the first round, but when it came to the battle, it was forgotten again. After being kicked by Zahu, Kajiro and Mayomio didn't care. The two shameless guys said, "What's the big deal about being kicked? Let's get the benefits first." Zahu and his group turned around and went to the registration office of the Yazzie City Gorgeous competition to register. The place where the Yazzie City Gorgeous competition is held is one of the landmark buildings of Yazzie City, the Yazzie Arena. What is more unexpected is that the outside of the Yazzie Arena is now filled with various small stalls selling various unique products. Although the small stalls around will come to set up stalls when the Gorgeous competition starts, it is generally not on such a scale. It is almost close to a large-scale Gorgeous celebration. "Boss, it seems that there will be a two-person doubles match here." Kajiro pointed to a huge billboard. "Two-person doubles match?" Zahu's expression brightened slightly, and he smiled. "Is this a feature of the City of Enlightenment? The grand contest is a one-person command of 2 Pokémon, and the following conference is also a two-person doubles match." Indeed, the City of Enlightenment emphasizes the tacit understanding of cooperation. Such a competition is held every year, and after winning, there is a soothing bell as a reward. Kona said. "Then let's join together. It seems that we have never teamed up to fight," Zahu suggested. "But signing up to participate does not mean that we will be a team. After signing up, the order will be randomly shuffled and then randomly combined," Kona said. "Then let's give it a try. It doesn't matter anyway," Zahu said. "That's right. Kajiro, do you want to join?" Kona said. "No, I'm not interested in this competition. I want to take this opportunity to make another wave of money. This grand occasion is a good opportunity to make money," Kajiro said. "Okay, it's up to you. Now go in and register for the grand contest first," Zahu said. Chapter 438, Fate's Gorgeous Contest. The much anticipated Gorgeous Contest, the UNC City Conference, is now officially underway, and I, Bayan, will still be the host. The UNC City Gorgeous Contest officially began. On the celebration stage, the host, Bayan, dressed in a gorgeous suit, enthusiastically introduced the situation to the audience. The audience was in high spirits. Zahu was dressed in a gorgeous gentleman's suit, like an aristocrat. Although he participated in the Gorgeous Contest with a playful attitude, playing is also a skill, and Zahu has always played very seriously. When it was Zahu's turn, Zahu smiled slightly, took the fairy elf and nine-tailed Pokeballs to the stage, bowed to the audience around him, and then crossed his hands and threw out 2 Pokeballs. The capsule ball opened, the star stickers changed, and the shining and dreamy stars floated all over the venue. Nine-tailed and the fairy elf appeared at the same time, with charming colorful brilliance on their bodies. "Nine-tailed, missed venue," Zahu said. Jihui shook his head, and his 9 flawless white tails shone with ice crystals. The thick blue fog in the venue quickly rose, and the figures of the fairy elves and Jihui were looming in the fog, full of mysterious charm. "Fairy elves, shadow clones," Zahu said. The fairy elves moved and immediately transformed into dozens of phantoms, but they did not make the same movements as before, but all kinds of coquettish and cute, rolling and playing, as if there were really dozens of fairy elves playing. The cute appearance made the audience around them shout cute, and their eyes were full of stars. "What a great shadow clone, how is this trained? It seems that there are really these fairy elves," the host Bayan exclaimed. "How did this training succeed? It's incredible that the shadow clones of the fairy elves can make completely different movements from themselves. Combined with Jihui's misty venue, all the charms of the fairy elves are displayed, just like the legendary fairies." The judges on the left exclaimed. "Oh, I like this one." The judge in the middle narrowed his eyes and expressed his amazement at the charm that the fairy elf now exuded. "You are worthy of being the discoverer of the fairy system, Dr. Zahu. You are really full of charm," Miss Joy from the City of Edge said. Listening to the comments from all around, Zahu's mouth curled up slightly. The fairy elves and Jiuwei should be the protagonists of the gorgeous competition. Next, it's almost the end. Jiuwei, use the fairy wind. Zahu said. Jiuwei's 9 tails rolled up, and a strange wind blew up, rolling up the thick fog around, and blowing it into the sky. Fairy elves, use high-speed stars. Zahu said. The fairy elves opened their eyes wide, spraying large pieces of golden stars, interlaced spirals, forming a beautiful vortex upwards, and the thick fog wrapped in the fairy wind reflected each other, reflecting the psychedelic power. Fairy elves, a flash of lightning. Zahu said. All the fairy elves jumped up together, turning into rays of light, and rushing into the smoke above their heads. The smoke exploded instantly, and the light radiated, like a firework explosion, with colorful and gorgeous light blooming and spreading all over the venue. Then the real fairy elves rolled down gracefully, and landed on Ninetale's head. The 2 Pokémon thanked them gracefully. Zahu took back the 2 Pokémon, bowed in farewell, and walked back to the backstage. On the aisle, he happened to meet the bard Shangzi, who he hadn't seen for a long time. He chuckled and said, "Come on, I look forward to your appearance in the finals." "I will, Mr. Zahu." Shangzi nodded, walked onto the stage, released the speaker cricket and the sunflower monster, and started the chanting mode. The notes were concretely displayed and floated on the performance venue, reflecting the consistent style of the bard. Next, Xiaoxia, Xiaoguang, Xiaoang, and Xiaojero also performed on stage one after another. However, when the list of those who passed the first round of review came out, it was found that Xiaoguang's name was not on it. Hikari, who was full of confidence and was planning to compete with Xiaoang on the final stage, fell into a trough when he saw the screen without his photo. He ran out without saying a word. Kona took Eevee back into the Pokeball and followed the direction Hikari left. As a friend of Hikari's mother, she was considered Hikari's elder and had to be taken care of. Besides, she didn't participate in the gorgeous competition and was the one with the least time. In the first qualifying match, Zahu met one of the other 3 who he didn't know, even though he knew 4 of the 7 opponents. Moreover, the 2 Pokémon of the opponent were the Dark-type Wolfhound and the Fighting-type Bee. Really, Zahu wanted to show off his gorgeous battle, but the Ninetale guy was merciless. 2 magic flashes went over, and the Wolfhound and a Bee fell. So, Zahu directly advanced to the semi-finals, and then faced Kajiro. "Don't feel pressured, just use your full strength." Zahu gave Kajiro a standard smile. Kajiro's expression darkened. It would be strange if there was no pressure. "Why should I fight the boss? Fairy Elf, Ninetale, come out." Zahu threw 2 Pokeballs. Fairy Elf and Ninetale appeared elegantly. Seeing this, Kajiro had to force himself to cheer up, took off the 2 Pokeballs from his waist and said, "Come out, Growlithe, Desert Nadia." Growlithe appeared naturally and blocked Kajiro's way, carrying out the principle of a loyal dog. And Desert Nadia, of course, immediately pounced on Kajiro as usual. Kajiro shouted pain, 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 and after some effort, Desert Nadia recovered and stood on the stage ready to fight. "Growlithe, use Sunny Day," Kajiro said. Growlithe roared majestically, and the sunlight in the sky suddenly became fierce. Growlithe was more energetic under the flames, and its milky yellow mane trembled like a flame. "Fairy Elf, a flash of lightning," Zahu said. Fairy Elf turned into a white light and went straight to Growlithe. "Growlithe, spray fire," Kajiro said. The flames accumulated in Growlithe's mouth and suddenly burst out. A dazzling flame shot straight at the fairy spirit. The fairy spirit's figure was light and nimble, like a flash of lightning, and drew a Z-shaped route in the field, avoiding Growlithe's sprayed flames, and then came in front of Growlithe. Desert Nadia, use the needle leaf hidden weapon to block the fairy spirit, Kajiro said. Desert Nadia moved quickly, and the whole right arm emitted a rich green light and hit the fairy spirit. The 2 Pokémon fought fiercely. The fairy spirit's head suddenly pushed forward and pushed Desert Nadia away. Even though the power was slightly reduced due to the temporary change of direction, it was still much stronger than Desert Nadia. "Growlithe, this is the time, the flame vortex," Kajiro shouted. Growlithe roared, and a violent flame vortex erupted, surrounding the fairy spirit. Ninetailed, use the full strength steel tail to break up the flame vortex, Zahu said. Ninetales moved suddenly, as fast as lightning. It was clearly behind the fairy elf just now, but after Zahu gave the order, Ninetales had already cleverly intervened between Growlithe and the fairy elf. The 9 snow white tails shone with metallic luster and suddenly broke the flame vortex that had not yet been fully formed by Growlithe and scattered it completely. Sparks fell and sprinkled on the 9 iron tails of Ninetales, which made it even more charming. On the side, Kajiro's score display plate began to deduct some of Kajiro's points. Using the opponent's special moves to show the charm of Pokémon has always been a plus point in the Pokémon Grand Contest. Oh no, the boss got ahead. We can't be completely trapped in the boss's rhythm like this. Kajiro frowned. Desert Naia uses Sun Flame. It was a sunny day, and there was no need to charge when using Sun Flame. This was the biggest reason why Kajiro decided to use the combination of Growlithe and Desert Naia. The yellow flower on the top of Desert Naia's head quickly absorbed the sunlight above its head, shining with golden light, and then burst out a strong energy beam towards the fairy elf. The 9-tailed fox is too strong, so don't think about targeting it, just attack the fairy elf first. Fairy elf, hold on, Zahu said. A layer of light green light appeared on the fairy elf, easily blocking the sunlight and flames of Desert Naia. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 439 Teaching in Competition. Fairy Pokémon, use Lightning Flash. Fairy Pokémon turned into a beam of white light, leaping calmly between Desert Naia and Growlithe, fighting flexibly. It flexibly dodged the attacks of Desert Naia and Growlithe, and used its speed to launch a counterattack, while Ninetales stood lazily behind. As long as Desert Naia and the others did not actively attack Ninetales, Ninetales would not actively attack. It was called a doubles match, but in fact, Zahu had turned it into a 1-on-2 match. Or in Zahu's allocation, Fairy Pokémon was responsible for fighting, and Ninetales was responsible for being beautiful. The division of labor was clear. Of course, because of this, Zahu's score was deducted a lot. However, Zahu said he didn't care. Anyway, he would definitely beat Kajiro before the end. And he also wanted to take this opportunity to stimulate Kajiro and remember his responsibilities as a trainer. Fairy Pokémon, use playfulness, Zahu said. The fairy sprite jumped to the side of Growlithe and attacked Growlithe seemingly in a playful manner, but the frequency of its punching attacks was completely unexpected, and the actual damage was unusually large, leaving Growlithe covered with wounds. Desert Naia, hurry up and rescue Growlithe, use the needle leaf hidden weapon, Kajiro said anxiously. A green glow appeared on Desert Naia's right hand, but unlike the needle leaf hidden weapon, where the whole arm turned green, this glow was a spiral attack, punching the fairy sprite who was caught off guard. The fairy sprite was attacked and flew to the side, but it quickly turned its body in the air and landed steadily, showing the excellent qualities of an elite Pokémon. The trick just now was not the needle leaf hidden weapon, right? Kajiro said with a puzzled look on his face. Absorption Punch. A fist trick that is stronger than the needle leaf hidden weapon, Zahu explained unhappily. Oh, so that's it. It's the Absorption Punch. Kajiro nodded repeatedly, his sudden realization making people unable to bear to watch, and then said, Desert Naia, use the Absorption Punch again. A green spiral glow appeared on Desert Naia's right fist again. Fairy Elf, magic shines, Zahu said. A dazzling charm glow burst out from the fairy elf and shot straight at Desert Naia. Desert Naia confronted head-on, but just when the fist was about to hit, the energy on the fist suddenly dissipated, and it was hit by the fairy elf's magic glow, hitting heavily on Caterpillar. Caterpillar was innocently implicated, and lost its ability to fight. On the contrary, Desert Naia actually held on, and stood up again. What's the matter? Wasn't it okay just now? Kajiro said with a puzzled look. Because Desert Naia can't fully control the Absorption Punch, the success just now was just accidental. Zahu said. Accidental? How to train it? Kajiro said. Desert Naia, twist your arm inward, and then quickly swing it outward. Zahu said unhappily. Desert Naia immediately reacted. It and Growlithe were nominally Kajiro's Pokémon, but Zahu did most of the training. So under the dual leadership, it naturally adapted to Zahu's orders and followed Zahu's instructions. Then it punched out and completed the basic prototype of the absorption punch. Speed up the power and punch, Zahu said. Desert Nadia's eyes turned firm and both arms quickly punched, one punch faster than the other. The power of the absorption punch was mastered by Desert Nadia in a very short time. Zahu nodded slightly. Kajiro's Desert Nadia has great potential and strength. Otherwise, in the animation, the trainer of the E-Medium, Natica, would not be so determined to cultivate this Desert Nadia. Desert Nadia after learning a new trick. Desert Nadia was overjoyed and jumped to Zahu happily as usual to share it with Zahu. This is nothing in normal times, but now it is not normal times, but a gorgeous competition. The audience around, the 3 judges, and the professional host were all confused by Desert Nadia's confusing behavior. During the battle, the number of Pokémon running to the opponent to celebrate was unprecedented. Desert Nadia, come back quickly, we are still fighting the boss, we can't be soft-hearted. Kajiro said anxiously. Desert Nadia finally realized that something was wrong. However, thinking about fighting Zahu who had just taught him the absorption punch, Desert Nadia felt guilty, then rolled his eyes and fell down. I have lost my will to fight. Don't give me any more battle orders. Once again, countless viewers were shocked by this confusing behavior and then burst into laughter. What is this Desert Nadia doing? Is he pretending to be dead? It's so funny. Where did this Desert Nadia come from? So cute. This Desert Nadia is really cute. I really want to raise one. Kona couldn't help laughing and was shocked by this magical and confusing behavior. Most of Zahu's Pokémon were spoiled by him into funny fooders, and occasionally there were a few arrogant ones, while Kajiro's Pokémon were all cultivated by Kajiro into unreliable and silly personalities like himself. After a long while, Kona laughed enough and looked at Xiaozi on the side and said, Xiaozi, take a closer look. If you don't pay more attention and love to Kintaro, Muddy, and Crab, one day they will be like Desert Nadia. Ah. Xiaozi, who was also laughing, heard what Kona said and fell into deep thought. Sister-in-law is right. If one day I do this, it won't be embarrassing. Kajiro gave his Pokémon to me to train, so Pokémon can't compete with me. I put Pokémon in the Oak Research Institute, so I can't compete with Professor Oak. Oh, that's not right. I can't fight Professor Oak. Then it's okay. Xiaozi suddenly became clear, and the whole person was relieved, and continued to watch Kajiro's jokes. On the stage, Kajiro was also confused. He took back Desert Nadia and growled with a sad face, ready to go back and find a hole to cry silently. It's so depressing. Zahu glanced at Kajiro. Although Desert Nadia's behavior was completely beyond his expectations, it was not bad. If you don't want what happened today to happen again, learn more about training Pokémon. Don't think too much about Pokémon self-training. If Pokémon can train themselves, what do you need as a trainer? Finally, the host, Miss Bayan, started to warm up the audience. She is a professional. Even if she couldn't help it, she would not laugh. She came out and said a pretty opening speech, reluctantly took over this incident, and then went directly to the finals between Zahu and Shangzi who had already defeated Xiaoxia. I hope there will be a hearty and gorgeous Pokémon showdown to make this game dignified again. Chapter 440 Singer Showdown. Next, it's the finals between the Bard Shangzi and Zahu. Let's look forward to the wonderful performances of the 2 contestants. Zahu and Shangzi stood on opposite sides of the stage. It's really my honor to fight with Mr. Zahu again, because Mr. Zahu's advice made me understand that it is meaningful to participate in the gym competition and the gorgeous competition at the same time with the goal of becoming stronger with Pokémon. Next, I will perform a perfect music for Mr. Zahu, and I hope Mr. Zahu will be satisfied. Shangzi said. I'm all ears to Mr. Shangzi's music. My Ninetales and Fairies just like dancing, and the dance music is the perfect match. Zahu smiled. In this case, Sunflower Monster and Speaker Cricket, come out. Shangzi threw the Pokeball, and Speaker Cricket and Sunflower Monster appeared at the same time. Fairy, Ninetale, come out too. Zahu threw the Pokeball and said. A red light flashed, and Ninetales and Fairies had lazy and elegant expressions on their faces. Sunflower Monster, Please use the grass flute, and speaker cricket, please use singing. Shangzi gently plucked the strings of the harp in his hand. The sunflower monster put the leaf's hand next to his mouth, used the leaf as a flute, and played a beautiful song. The notes danced, and the energy was concretely manifested in front of everyone. The speaker cricket began to sing, his voice stretched, and the beautiful music sounded in the venue, and the colorful notes were transmitted directly to the nine-tailed fox and the fairy. Singing and playing the grass flute, are you going to make the nine-tailed fox and the fairy sleep? What a pity. When I watched your performance just now, I already thought you would use this tactic. Fairy and Ninetale use mysterious protection together. Zahu's mouth curled up slightly. Fairy and Ninetale's eyes widened, and the light green light shield enveloped the two Pokémon at the same time, and the original sleepiness disappeared without a trace in an instant. Shang Zhi's expression froze slightly, then he smiled and said, indeed, it is very difficult to use tricks to win over Mr. Zahu, but the beautiful movement has not yet ended. This is just the beginning. Mr. Zahu, please listen to us play this piece to the end. Shang Zhi's slender fingers plucked the strings gracefully, and beautiful notes flowed out from his fingertips. Then, through the energy of the sunflower monster and the speaker cricket, the notes were specifically displayed in front of everyone. Although it caused almost no effective damage to the fairy elves and the nine-tailed beast, the gorgeous fighting method immediately received unanimous praise from the surrounding audience and the three judges. Zahu was deducted a lot of points. I almost forgot that this is a gorgeous battle. In this case, nine-tailed beast used telekinesis to control these notes. Zahu said. The pupils of the nine-tailed beast glowed, and the nine tails stretched flexibly. The telekinesis burst out, forcibly controlling the notes surrounding the speaker cricket and the sunflower monster, causing the originally harmonious movement to have flaws. Then the notes rioted and collided with each other, forming a chaotic explosion, and the light spots interacted. The speaker cricket and the sunflower monster were injured at the same time. Shang Zhi's score began to be deducted. The singing attack could not be broken in this way, but Shang Zhi deliberately showed these notes in order to show his magnificence, so it was easy to destroy it. Like in the animation, it was because of this that Shang Zhi's soundbox cricket's attack was broken by Xiao Wang's dream demon with a lucky spell that was not related to him. Attacks have always been about effectiveness and power, and magnificence is just a byproduct. In order to show magnificence, sacrifices must be made in some aspects. The secret of the movement is not like this. The sunflower monster continues to use the grass flute, and then the soundbox cricket uses the sword dance. Shang Zhi said. The sunflower monster continues to use the grass flute, playing a crisp flute sound, and the soundbox cricket uses the sword dance, swinging two sickles, showing the ability and heroism of the soundbox cricket. The body dances gracefully, and the power of the music around ripples throughout the body, showing the charm of the soundbox cricket's dance. Sure enough, you're right to participate in the gorgeous contest. Zahu smiled. It would be a waste if he didn't participate in the gorgeous contest for this kind of bard style. But dancing is what the fairy elf likes, don't snatch it. Fairy elf, shadow clone. The fairy elf quickly attacked, transformed into many clones, and attacked the sunflower monster and the speaker cricket. The power of music was fully reflected on the fairy elf's beautiful fur. Borrowing the opponent's special moves to show the gorgeousness of Pokémon is one of the essences of the gorgeous contest. Isn't Brother Zahu a professional gym player? Why can he perform so well in the gorgeous contest? Xiaoguang exclaimed. Because even a gorgeous battle is part of the battle. Although Zahu can't show the charm of Pokémon like a professional coordination trainer, he will fight with the personality of Pokémon. Fairy Elf and Ninetales are both charming. Zahu shows his personality during the battle, which also shows beauty. Kona said. But I also want to show the charm of Longtail Monster, but when I fight, I will get too excited. Is there any way to improve? Xiaozi said. Practice more and fight more. There is no other way. You are different from Zahu. Zahu is calm, and you are passionate, especially in duels. Although Zahu has a bad personality and often plays, it is because of playing that he calculates more. If you want to fight, let Sukyun come out. This kind of occasion is also suitable for Sukyun. Kona said. Yes, I can let Sukyun fight. Zyos, he said with a flash of inspiration, but soon shook his head again. No, my goal is the gym competition. I can't waste extra time. I'm not a brother. A wise idea. As a trainer you must first understand what you want. In this way, your Pokémon will not get lost. Kona said. Yeah. Zyos, he nodded to show that he understood. A group of people were talking about the game above, and no one noticed that a Pokéball in Zahu's backpack bounced, a red light flashed, and a pink Jigglypuff jumped out. Listening to the melodious singing, Jigglypuff pouted, "This song is so bad, not as good as my singing." Turning his eyes, Jigglypuff found that the audience in the audience seats were all intoxicated, praising the flute of the sunflower monster and the singing of the speaker cricket. His little face suddenly showed an angry expression, and his whole body became swollen. Jigglypuff was very angry, and the consequences were serious. He took out Zyos's marker, then moved his short legs, and jumped enthusiastically to the highest point of the stage, attracting everyone's attention at once. The judges, the host and the audience were puzzled. Zyos and Zyaksha were trembling. Zahu's face also changed drastically, and he said anxiously, "Jigglypuff, no singing." Bobbly Zahu shouted fast enough, but it was still much slower than Jigglypuff's singing speed. When Zahu finished speaking, Jigglypuff's song had already begun, and a group of people were drowsy. Zahu covered his eyes with his hands, and had already anticipated the tragic scene that would follow. It was still the same old routine. Before the song was finished, everyone in the venue fell down. Zahu looked up at the sky. What should he do? Participating in the glamour contest, his Pokémon sang and hypnotized all the audience and judges. If this were a report for an exaggerated reporter, I guess it would be like this. Shock. The former champion of Hana actually used such a dirty trick to win the contest. Shock. The shame of the glamour contest. The former champion of Hana actually cheated in the Sinnoh glamour contest. Barley. After singing a song, Jigglypuff jumped down proudly and ran to Zahu, holding his head high, with an expression that he wanted to praise. Zahu's face turned black, and his fists were clenched. When Jigglypuff came in front of him, he pounced on him without thinking, and used crazy attacks. Jigglypuff, who was eager to be praised but got beaten, looked a little confused, and then quickly reacted and launched a counterattack. A whole set of consecutive slaps. If I don't beat you up, you won't know what a pink devil is. One person and one pet. You go back and forth, and a battle is more exciting than the previous glamour contest. Chapter 441, Educating Jigglypuff. Stand facing the wall, and reflect on your mistakes. In the Pokémon Center room, Zahu pointed at the wall, and said to Jigglypuff. Barley. Jigglypuff cried pitifully, and turned around to look at the wall unwillingly. If I hadn't been unable to beat you, I wouldn't have faced the wall. Isn't it just singing? Obviously, I sing better. Jigglypuff, what are you thinking about? Zahu's voice sounded like a ghost behind him. Jigglypuff's little face immediately straightened, and he pretended to repent seriously. Seeing this, Zahu temporarily let him go. This is the ice pack that Miss Joy and I brought. How about applying it on your face? Kona walked in with a teasing look on his face. Get out of here, Zahu said unhappily. If I leave, who else do you want to see you like now? How is your experience fighting with your own Pokémon? Kona showed a very rare mischievous smile and sat next to Zahu and said, I put on this macupe so that Miss Joy wouldn't think that I abused Pokémon. Zahu said, yes, yes, yes. Kona nodded while holding back a smile. Zahu looked at him with a resentful look, indicating that he didn't want to care about Kona. Kona sat beside Zahu with a smile and said, okay, don't be angry, prepare for tomorrow's doubles competition. If you can't get the ribbon medal of the City of Edge, you should at least get the bell of comfort of the doubles competition to comfort yourself. Don't mention the ribbon medal to me. If you mention it again, I will punish Jigglypuff again, Zahu said with a dark face. Zahu really thought that he might lose in the gorgeous competition one day. After all, the rules of the gorgeous competition are completely unfavorable to him, but he never thought that he would lose the game like this. Although Zahu's score was higher than Shangzi before sleeping, because Jigglypuff was Zahu's Pokémon, the organizing committee determined that the accident of this competition was on Zahu. So Zahu lost naturally. Moreover, because of Jigglypuff's bad behavior, Zahu was also warned by the organizing committee of the gorgeous competition. Although there was no big impact, there was always a feeling of being very unhappy. Anyway, the outcome of the grand contest has nothing to do with you, and it's already been calculated. If a trainer's Pokémon suddenly attacks during a contest and affects the outcome, if it's done in another form and intentionally, he will be banned from the grand contest for at least 3 years, and a stain will be left on his record. Kona said. Yeah, so I want to beat up that naughty kid Jigglypuff again. Zahu gritted his teeth and said, as a Pokémon trainer, you are its guardian. If a child makes a mistake, you, as a guardian, must take responsibility. Who told you not to train enough? Kona said. Zahu took a deep breath, then sighed helplessly and said, that's right. Jigglypuff is called the Pink Devil. In addition to Jigglypuff's terrifying singing skills, there is another reason that Jigglypuff is narrow-minded. And it's not just ordinary narrow-minded. He is very competitive and even jealous. Human nature is fickle. In the animation, he secretly bullied the 2 Jigglypuffs who could perform with the trainer because he was jealous of the 2 Jigglypuffs. After following Zahu, because Zahu's team was stronger than Jigglypuff, Jigglypuff couldn't be bullied, so Zahu forgot about it. Later, when he was sent to the research institute and drank fresh milk, Zahu gradually forgot about it. Unexpectedly, he made a mistake at this time. However, Zahu had to take the blame. Who made him a trainer? I will carry this marker with me from now on, and I won't return it until Jigglypuff grows up. Zahu said. Barley Jigglypuff, who was facing the wall, heard Zahu's words and turned around immediately, staring at Zahu. If you don't return my marker, will you live? Who told you to turn around? Keep facing the wall, otherwise there will be no fresh milk today. Zahu said. Barley. Jigglypuff's cheeks puffed up, and he shouted angrily, then turned around and continued to face the wall. After challenging the Jinman Gym in Manjin City, Zahu and Zaokian purchased a batch of large milk cans. Then the high quality fresh milk in the large milk cans became the favorite drink of Zahu's group of Pokémon. Among them, Snorlax and King of Leaf are the most gluttons. Zahu even learned how to make fresh milk energy cubes for these fools. Although Jigglypuff doesn't eat as much as Snorlax, he still likes it more than Snorlax. So, in front of fresh milk, Jigglypuff surrendered. Anyway, without the marker, it can still sing, but the sound is not that loud. Be honest and face the wall, and be good. I will study it carefully to see if I can enhance your control effect and distinguish between hypnotic singing tricks and ordinary tricks. Zahu said. Barley? Jigglypuff's voice revealed a hint of doubt and joy. If he could control his singing ability, then many people would be able to listen to him sing a song in the future. That's right, so be good. You want to bully hard scale recently, and face the wall well. We are all partners, so we should be friendly and united. Zahu said. Under normal circumstances, Jigglypuff can sing a song that does not hypnotize people. If he has the ability to hypnotize, when he opens his mouth, then Jigglypuff can't speak. It's just like other Psyducks can be happy in the water and use telekinesis freely, while Mr. Psyduck is a real landlubber and can only use telekinesis when he has a headache. Zahu's Jigglypuff is also a special case. Originally, Zahu didn't plan to train Jigglypuff at this time because it was too difficult, just like Misty spent her whole life trying to make Psyduck learn to swim. Zahu planned to prepare after the Sinnoh trip, but now that this has happened, Zahu has to move up the plan. As for bullying hard scale, it's because hard scale is small. Zahu and Kona pet hard scale more, and the other Pokémon in the team can accept it, but Jigglypuff, the willful little guy, is a little jealous. However, because of the protection of the 3 nannies, Togekiss, Ninetales, and Fairy, Jigglypuff's petty tricks did not succeed, but was frozen into ice by Ninetales and severely taught. So Zahu didn't punish Jigglypuff again. But now that he has to punish him, he will clear up the old accounts at once, so as not to forget about it in the future and let this kid escape. Barley Jigglypuff responded weakly. I can't beat you, so everything you said is right. Be sincere, otherwise. Zahu looked cold. Barley. Jigglypuff's cute eyes widened, and he perked up to show his loyalty. When I can control my singing, I will go back to the institute and hold a concert. Okay, the training has been done, and now let's turn off the lights and rest. Kona said. Yes, turn off the lights and go to sleep. Zahu raised his voice slightly. Jigglypuff is still here. Kona said. We sleep, and it faces the wall. Turn off the lights, what are you thinking about? Zahu said. Oh, I was wrong. Turn off the lights. Sleep, just sleep. Kona said. Of course, turn off the lights, sleep, and cover yourself with a blanket. Zahu said in a normal tone. A certain big balloon. Wait for me. The moonlit night was silent, the room was dark, and only the sound of even breathing could be heard. Under the moonlight, Jigglypuff's body cast a long shadow. His little ears moved slightly. After he sensed that Zahu and Kona were asleep, he jumped onto the bed and got into the quilt. Let him face the wall all night. Not possible. Sleep. There is one more update, which will be posted at noon. Chapter 442 Doubles Showdown. The next morning, Zahu got up lazily and felt the difference of touch in his hand. He slapped it unhappily, and Jigglypuff flew out. Barley Jigglypuff called lazily and then turned over and fell into Kona's arms and went to sleep. Zahu smiled and shook his head and didn't say anything. It was expected that Jigglypuff came to sleep. If he really stayed in the wall like this all night, it was probably that Jigglypuff was possessed by someone. He got up straight and planned to wash up. Kona, Zahu didn't need to call him. Anyway, Kona would always wake up when he should wake up. When he came to the hall, Zyozzy, Zyadagang, Kachiro, and Meowth were all there without exception. Zyarksha and Zyadagang were still in the room. According to Zyadagang, they were still dressing up. Zahu sat in the hall. Of course he wouldn't just wait. He took out his laptop and analyzed the virtual simulation of his own Pokémon, as well as the improvement of Jigglypuff's singing. After waiting for a long time, the three girls from Kona finally came out, and a group of people walked towards the direction of the Fate Arena. Then there was a random draw, and then they were paired up for doubles. To be honest, Zahu felt that this method was very stupid. Two strangers were paired together, and how could you cooperate with each other? Wouldn't it be good for two familiar people to sign up together and do it together? Zahu complained in his heart, but he couldn't refuse other people's traditional projects. After the random combination, Zahu got a number 5 card and then partnered with number 16. Unfortunately, this number 16 was not any of the people in Kona. Zahu had to search among the group of people with the number card. Excuse me, are you number 5? A voice sounded from behind. Zahu turned around happily and found that the person holding the number 16 card was Ailan. He smiled and said, it seems that the championship this time is in our hands. Drive Zahu, it's you. Ailan also said in surprise. Yes, after breaking up with Mr. Dago and the others, I came here to challenge the Eno Gym. I didn't expect that the gym trainer of the Eno Gym was not here, so I came to participate in this competition to train myself. I just conquered Yukara. Ailan explained. I conquered Yukara. It seems that you have made a lot of progress recently. Zahu glanced at Yukara beside Ailan's legs and smiled slightly. The hard scale on his shoulder jumped down excitedly and greeted Ailan's Yukara. Yukara also responded enthusiastically. It seems that they are quite tacit. Let's arrange some tactics. There are still many opponents this time. Kona and Zyozzy are participating. Zahu said. Okay. Ailan nodded. The groups were divided in the morning, but the official competition was in the afternoon. Zahu also saw the groups of the others at this time. Zyadagang was very happy to partner with a beautiful big sister named Yanha, but this beautiful big sister seemed to have no interest in sister-brother relationships, which hurt Zyadagang. Zyadagang is paired with a player named Kaoping who wears glasses. Kaoping uses the Pokémon King Hippo. Zahu can see that King Hippo is very powerful, but Kaoping's temperament seems a bit gloomy, just like a mental patient, which scares Zyadagang. Kaoping himself seems to like Zyadagang. Zyozzy is in a team with Zyarksha, becoming the only one in Zahu's group that is internally digested. Pikachu seems very happy and said that he will take Zyarksha's Swampert to show off and fly together. Finally, Kona's partner surprised Zahu. Zeudi. Yes, it's that Zeudi classmate. He has an arrogant personality, but in front of the powerful Kona, he still chooses to cooperate tacitly. Wait until the afternoon starts. The host stood at the highest peak and passionately introduced the rules to all the audience. Okay, the passionate battle is about to begin. There is no time limit. Each trainer can use only one Pokémon, and Pokémon cannot be replaced. If both Pokémon lose their ability to fight, they will lose, and the winner can enter the second round. The host explained very professionally, and it can be seen that he loves double battles very much. Of course, even if the explanation is not professional, Zahu and others will believe that he loves double battles very much, because this host is the mayor of Yuanzi City. If it is not because of his love, it is hard to believe that he, a mayor, came here to host. There are 8 groups fighting. Zahu and Alan are in Group C, and it will take some time before they can play, so there is no rush. You can first watch the battle between Xiaoguang and Kaoping in Group A, and the battle between Kona and Xiodi in Group B. The match between Xiaoguang and Kaoping is very good, especially Kaoping's Hippoking, which is really good. Alan's eyes became serious and he said, the level of that Hippoking is very different. The power of the mysterious guardian is completely extraordinary, and although the trainer's Kaoping looks a little weird, he is indeed powerful. Yes, and Xiaoguang's Pokémon is also a type that cannot be underestimated. In addition, and more importantly, after the game just now, Xiaoguang and Kaoping's tacit understanding has begun to improve, and they have become good friends. Zahu said. Next is the battle between Kona and the king. I wonder what kind of Pokémon they will send out. Alan said. Kona will send Eevee, which she just captured. She plans to use this game to train. As for Xiudi, it should be King Serpent. Zahu said. Brother Zahu, are you familiar with this trainer named Xiudi? Alan asked curiously. I have met him a few times, but I'm not familiar with him. He is a very unlovable child. Zahu said. The newly captured Eevee shouldn't be too strong, and may even be weaker than my Yukara. But Serpentis is a bit troublesome, and I need to change my Pokémon. Alan said. His Yukara was defeated by Serpentis, and the probability of winning was not high. Yes, if the situation is right, I will help you get a chance to fight Kona one-on-one. Zahu said that the Pokémon that Xiudi would send out should be Serpentis, because among Xiudi's Pokémon, except Serpentis, the rest of the Pokémon seemed ordinary. If Serpentis is not used, the rest of the Pokémon can be ignored, and Kona will obviously anticipate this situation, so he will definitely not send Eevee again, and will most likely send out the Ace main force, so Alan can use Charizard to fight. Okay. Alan nodded. He didn't think as much as Zahu, but he believed in Zahu's strength. It would not be easy to isolate Xiudi's Pokémon. The next situation was also expected by Zahu. Kona sent Eevee and Xiudi sent Serpentis. The ending process was simple. The two players on the opposite side were not as experienced as Kona, who had a level of command at the level of a king, and their Pokémon strength was not as good as Xiudi's Monarch Snake, so it was natural for them to lose. Finally, it was Zahu and Alan's turn to play. Chapter 443 Preliminary Victory. Heart Scale, grow up. Zahu looked down at the heart scale at his feet and said. Heart Scale nodded and walked out resolutely. After the metal monster left, Zahu focused his main attention on it, so the pressure was the greatest. It had to work hard and leave the weakest position of the team. Yukara, you also go. Alan said. Yukara moved his legs and stood with heart scale. The two little quasi-gods looked down on the opposite side. The two trainers on the opposite side saw Yukara and heart scale, and their faces changed slightly. If it was Bangjera who came out, it would be fine. They would accept it, but these two little guys are so fierce. Do you think they are strong? Without thinking, they released their own Pokémon. One Spinosaurus and one electric monster. The two Pokémon seemed to have sensed the emotions of their masters, and showed angry and fierce emotions, especially Spinosaurus, whose original temperament was gloomy and terrifying. Now he deliberately put on a fierce expression, more like a big devil. Spinosaurus, use Poison Tail. Spinosaurus trainer ordered. The scimitar launched the first attack, and its pointed tail glowed purple, and it attacked Hard Scale and Yukara at the same time. Yukara, awaken your power. Island said. Yukara took a step, and stood in front of Heart Scale. His eyes widened, and a strange white power emerged from his body, forming an indestructible shield, which shook the poisonous tail away. Electric monster, support the scimitar, use the tile split. The trainer of the electric monster said. The electric monster followed closely, and a strong white light appeared on his right hand, and attacked Yukara. Heart scale, iron head skill. Zahu said. Heart scale dream move suddenly, jumped up, and took the initiative to jump above Yukara. The scales on his head glowed white, and hit the lower abdomen of the electric monster hard, cancelling the electric monster's tile split trick. The electric monster fell to the ground with a bang, and although it stood up again soon, it had already lost the initiative. The scimitar, use the poisonous fang. The trainer of the scimitar said. The rice spoon snake immediately pounced forward, its mouth wide open, its two fangs sharp, and a poisonous purple light lingering, continuing to attack Yukara. Yukara, use sandstorm, AI Land said. Yukara immediately took action, and sand and dust flew around him. A large piece of wind and sand poured into the rice spoon snake's mouth and eyes, blocking the rice spoon snake's vision, and forcing it to stop. Electric monster, use 100,000 volts, said the trainer of the electric monster. A strong current was exchanged between the two plug-like horns on the top of the electric monster's head, and then the strong current burst out instantly, exploding in all directions. Heart scale treasure, jump in and use dragon claw, Zahu said. Heart scale treasure's eyes were firm, and his four hooves were running, bearing the electric current of the electric monster head on, and pounced on the electric monster. A phantom of a claw appeared on one of its claws, and the claw hit the electric monster's head. The electric monster's head banged, and it fell heavily to the ground, revealing a pair of background eyes. After dealing with the electric monster, Heart Scale still didn't blush or breathe, as if it was a dragon that had nothing to do. It was constantly receiving electric shocks from Magnetron at Chyanguan Mountain. With the bonus of its innate attributes, its electric resistance had reached the maximum level. Seeing that Heart Scale had dealt with the electric monster, AI Land frowned slightly. Not wanting to fall behind ZHIHUI too much, he immediately said, Yukara, use Rockfall. A circle of small stones immediately appeared around Yukara's body, and then he smashed it violently at the rice spoon snake, one after another. The rice spoon snake couldn't bear it, and finally fell to the ground, and lost its ability to fight. Success. ZHIHUI smiled slightly, and clapped his hands with Ailan as a celebration. Then, ZHIHUI and Ailan stepped aside to watch the next game. Kona and others expressed their welcome, but XIUD was a little embarrassed and turned his head to the side. There were a total of 8 groups, and the game was also simple. After ZHIHUI and others finished the game, Zio Gang, Zio ZHI and others competed one after another, and they all advanced to the next level without any surprises. The next battle list was also released soon. What was beyond Zahu's expectation was that his next opponent was not the winner of Group D, but Kona and Ziudi from Group B. He originally thought that it would be an AB vs. CD duel, but it didn't matter. Sooner or later, they would have to face each other. It didn't matter who they played against. The next morning, the two groups met again on the field. Are you ready for a one-on-one with Ailan? Zahu asked Kona. You really have to change your Pokémon. Kona stared at Zahu without blinking. There is no way. Ujira is too restrained by the monarch snake. Ailan must change his Pokémon. If he wants to change, you must also change, otherwise Ziudi can't stop him at all. In this case, of course I have to change, otherwise Ailan can't stop you either, Zahu said with a smile. Okay, then let's see who is more prepared. Kona smiled. Every time you participate in a competition, you need to register your Pokémon. You can't change it during the competition, even if it hasn't started yet. Silly hippo, come out. Kona threw a Pokéball, and the stupid hippo appeared in the field, looking up at the sky at a 45-degree angle. His eyes were confused and lifeless, and he looked harmless. Monarch snake, come here, let others know your strength. Ziudi threw out the monarch snake, with a bit of dissatisfaction on his face, and was very dissatisfied with Zahu's previous words. Ziudi can't stop it at all. Silly hippo. He really didn't hold back at all. Ailan, this is just right for you. Silly hippo is also a Pokémon that can super evolve. You can try to challenge it with Charizard, and then see if you can step onto the peak of the strongest super evolution. Zahu said to Ailan. Understood, Charizard, and I will not let Brother Zahu down. Ailan's expression was solemn. His current strength has surpassed the level of ordinary trainers and is infinitely close to the king. Only a king like Kona can give him pressure and motivation. Charizard, fight with all your strength. This is the strongest opponent we have met in Sinnoh except Mr. Dago. Ailan released Charizard and said, "Ah." Charizard roared majestically, the sound waves rolled and even shattered the clouds in the sky. The wings behind him fluttered, showing the style of a strong man. Kona gently raised his glasses. Although they hadn't fought yet, judging by his eyes alone, this Charizard's level was very extraordinary, especially now that it hadn't evolved. His eyes turned to Zahu. Although Charizard was powerful, it was not enough to defeat a hippopotamus. What was important now was Zahu's Pokémon. If it was a Pokémon like Parasagus, she could still try to fight it, but if it was replaced by Togekiss or Entei, it would be difficult. No matter how strong she was, she couldn't fight two at once. As for Zahu, he was obviously not a helper in a battle at the king level. We are partners, so of course we have to use similar Pokémon. I'm a dragon party today. Zahu smiled slightly, took off the Pokéball from his waist and said, "Dragonite, come on stage." Chapter 444 Super Evolution Showdown. A flash of red light passed by, and a Dragonite that was more than a circle larger than a normal Dragonite appeared on the scene. Its two small wings fluttered and swayed. Although its eyes were different from those of a silly hippopotamus, one was a stupid look, and the other was a naive look. They both looked harmless. But when Kona saw Zahu's Dragonite, the expression on her face was not a little stiff. In her mind, the highest expectation was only the king level Pokémon like Entei, and she didn't expect that Dragonite and Articuno had surpassed the king level Pokémon. Because if she took out those, Kona didn't even need to fight. Even the strongest main force Articuno was no match. What's more, there was Ailan as Zahu's assistant. Looking at Zahu, Kona's plump red lips opened and closed silently. Although no sound came out, it was very unfortunate that Zahu happened to know a little lip reading and understood what Kona wanted to express. Shameless everything is for the team's cooperation and tacit understanding. Now, everyone can see at a glance that Ailan and I are a team, Zahu said. Kona took a deep breath and tried to force out a smile. She didn't want to say anything anymore. Screw you. For the sake of team cooperation and tacit understanding, Dragon Party. Before Charizard Super evolved, it didn't have dragon attributes. Okay. It is a pure fire attribute Pokémon. Can't you use Entei? Use Dragonite. What suspense is there in the result of this game? Even if Ailan doesn't take action, Hippopotamus and Serpent are no match for Dragonite. Okay, let's start the battle. Zahu looked at Ailan. Ailan nodded to show that he understood, with a solemn and sacred meaning on his face, and said solemnly, "Respond to my heart, the evolution keystone, beyond evolution, super evolution." As the voice fell, the evolution keystone in his hand burst into colorful brilliance, reflecting the super evolution stone on Charizard's neck. A fierce and hot breath burst out from Charizard, and the super evolution was completed in an instant. Just treat it as a warm-up. After coming to Sinnoh, I haven't had a hearty fight with anyone for a long time. Kona's eyes revealed a hint of fighting spirit. He took out the necklace on his neck and said, "Hippopotamus, let's join in." The evolution keystone on the necklace shone brightly, reflecting the power of Hippopotamus. The colorful light covered Hippopotamus's body. After the light faded, Hippopotamus's image changed drastically. His whole body was hidden in the spiral shell, with only his hands and a tail exposed, and even his feet were gone. If it were an ordinary Pokémon, this form would probably not be able to fight, no matter how strong it was, because it couldn't move. But Hippopotamus was a Pokémon with superpower attributes. Even so, it could still float in the air and move freely. Its speed was not affected at all. Even after super evolution, its superpower became stronger, and its ability to float and move freely became stronger. Super evolution? What is this? Kaoping, who was watching, said in surprise. He had countless Pokémon battle equations in his head, but he still didn't know about super evolution. This is a phenomenon in the Kalos region. It is a short-term evolution phenomenon that can be achieved in battle with the help of the Mega Evolution Stone and the Evolution Keystone. Xiaoguang explained. Although she herself has not been able to mega evolve yet, a group of people around her can mega evolve, so she naturally knows it. So that's how it is. Miss Xiaoguang, you are indeed knowledgeable, Ko Ping said, while expressing his gratitude and praising Xiaoguang. No, I just happen to know it, Xiaoguang said shyly. Then can Dragonite and King Serpent also do it? Ko Ping said. King Serpent can't, at least Xiuda's King Serpent can't. Brother Zahu's Dragonite doesn't have a Mega Evolution Stone, but it has more terrible abilities, Xiaogang explained. More terrible abilities? Ko Ping and Xiaogang's partner Yanhua were all shocked. Aren't we just participating in a simple doubles tournament? Why would such a cheating person appear? King Serpent, use Leaf Storm on Dragonite. Xiudi was the first to attack. King Serpent looked arrogant, and the dark green Leaf Storm gathered around his slender body and attacked Dragonite. Spray flames, Zahu said. Hearing the order, Dragonite's cute eyes suddenly became sharp and bright, and a long column of blazing flames spurted out of its mouth, easily piercing through Leaf Storm and directly hitting the Monarch Snake. The flames were rising, and the Monarch Snake's green body suddenly turned black. It lay powerlessly on the field, revealing a pair of big circular eyes. Xiuda's originally ruddy face suddenly turned pale. One hit. Losing the ability to fight? Don't be too pessimistic. Your talent is actually very good. The strength of this Dragonite is so great that even my hippopotamus can't match it. Even in the whole world, there are not many Pokémon that can defeat it, Kona said gently. Really? Xiudi said. Yes. Kona nodded. In fact, Xiuda's talent is really good. He deserves the word talent. If he develops well, he may become a king within 10 to 20 years. Just like Arju. It's just that Ailan and Xiaozi have surpassed the definition of ordinary talents and can be considered geniuses, so Xiudi seems very weak. Next, it's my game. Dragonite, sit aside for a while. When the game is over, I'll make you a noodle, Kona said to Dragonite. Noodle? Dragonite's eyes curved, revealing a joyful expression. Without Zahu's words, he took a step, lay aside, crossed his legs, and waited for the show. Zahu smiled helplessly and said to Ailan, the next time is yours. Understood. Charizard, let's step onto a higher level together. Explosion of flames. Ailan pointed at the dumb hippopotamus and said. Charizard roared, and its powerful wings vibrated. The blue flames around it exploded and burned, instantly spreading into a sea of fire. The surrounding land turned into scorched earth in an instant and covered the dumb hippopotamus. Dumb hippopotamus, surf, Kona said. The dumb hippopotamus' eyes widened, and a tide surged under him. A huge wave several meters high emerged and collided violently with the blue flames around Charizard. Water and fire clashed, evaporating and boiling each other, and their power was comparable. Charizard, Dragon Claw, Ailan said. Charizard ignored the water vapor in the field that had not completely dried up, and the energy of the Dragon Claw appeared, attacking the hippopotamus sharply. Hippopotamus, retreat into the shell, Kona said. The hippopotamus moved quickly and quickly retracted its head, hands, and tail, hiding all parts of its body in the spiral shell. Charizard's Dragon Claw slapped with great force, hitting the hippopotamus shell, but it had almost no effect. Hippopotamus, petrification, Kona said. The hippopotamus body was still retracted in the shell, but the telekinesis had already emerged directly, spreading out through the shell. Charizard's body was directly controlled, and its body floated stiffly in the air, unable to move. Telekinesis, Kona said. The hippopotamus still did not show up, but the telekinesis in his body was more turbulent, controlling Charizard and smashing it heavily into the ground, making the ground look like a spider web. Chapter 445, Ailan lost. Dragonite was lazy. After the hippopotamus super evolved, its characteristic became a hard shell armor. It will not be hit by the opponent's attack, and if it encounters an attack, it will shrink into its shell, and its speed will be faster, and general physical attacks are basically ineffective. Zahu explained to Ailan. The characteristic of the super evolved Charizard is to enhance the power of contact type special moves, which can be regarded as a natural restraint against Charizard. Looking at the hippopotamus floating in the sky, AI Land felt a huge pressure head on, as if facing an insurmountable high wall, but the strong pressure did not make him shrink, but instead aroused his fighting spirit. Charizard, let's move towards a stronger goal together, and use our dragon claws to break the hippopotamus shell. The hippopotamus in the field was severely injured. The embarrassed Charizard felt AI Land's strong fighting spirit, and the fire of fighting spirit in his eyes also burned fiercely, and the flame of his tail was even more vigorous. With a flap of his wings, Charizard closed the distance, approached the hippopotamus, and slapped it. Facing the fierce attack of Charizard, Kona remained calm, as if he had not noticed it at all, and said calmly, "Teleport." The figure of the dumb hippo flashed and disappeared from the spot. The Charizard slapped the air with one claw, hitting the air with all its strength. The original fearless momentum fell into an awkward stagnation. Zahu touched his nose with interest. This game was really interesting. After Charizard's super evolution, its contact type tricks became stronger, and after the super evolution of the dumb hippo, its entire body retracted into its shell, and its defense increased greatly. It can be regarded as a natural restraint against Charizard, but after the strength is high, the attributes can be ignored, let alone such a small advantage. AI Lan is a newborn calf who is not afraid of tigers. The young man is full of vigor and fighting spirit. He chooses to use the most direct attack method with Charizard. The brave wins when they meet on a narrow road, and they collide head on. Win with will. This is also the only place where AI Lan and Charizard can compete with Kona and the dumb hippo. The rest of the command tactics are not as good as Kona. After all, when AI Lan was still a research assistant, Kona had already won the championship of the regional conference. When AI Lan became a trainer, Kona was already one of the famous 4 Heavenly Kings. There is no comparison in experience here, only will. Once the collision occurs, regardless of success or failure, through repeated confrontations, the will of AI Lan and Charizard will continue to rise, and then burst out with stronger strength. The battle rhythm of the entire game will gradually lean towards AI Lan. Unfortunately, Kona did not give AI Lan this opportunity. He used instant movement to directly interrupt this momentum, leaving AI Lan with no place to use her strength, and her momentum fell instead. Pray for rain, Kona ordered coldly. After entering the combat state, she has completed the transformation from water to ice. The stupid hippopotamus floated in the air, and the powerful willpower spread out. Large dark clouds in the sky automatically condensed, and rain poured down, covering the entire venue in the blink of an eye. Charizard, who had been suppressed and irritable, was now covered by rain, and his mood became even more irritable. He vibrated his wings, and dispersed the rain. But AI Lan did not give the order immediately. In a contact battle, it is good to be stronger when facing a stronger opponent, but when the momentum is interrupted, blindly attacking may lead to self-destruction. Give up the attack? Then I will be disrespectful. Hippo, use the petrification skill again, Kona said. Hippo's superpower emerged, and he was about to stiffen and petrify Charizard. Now, Charizard uses explosive flames and rushes towards Hippo. AI Lan shouted. Charizard's eyes suddenly turned fierce, and the flames on his body exploded and burned. Relying on the power of the flames to block the strange fluctuations around, and then a burst of momentum rushed towards Hippo by inertia. AI Lan's eyes were firm and focused. Although Hippo's shell was difficult to chew, even if he got close, he might not get much advantage, but if he didn't get close, he would only be played around by Hippo's superpowers. He had to get close and break the shell. AI Lan, who was Dr. Blatano's assistant, was very clear about Hippo's special evolution method. Each got what it wanted from Shelder. The original Slowpoke gained the ability to walk upright, and the possibility of punching quickly, while Shelder could move freely, and parasitize on Slowpoke, absorbing the sweet taste from Slowpoke's tail. In order to absorb more, it even mysteriously changed from a scallop to a spiral shell. But because of this, Slowpoke is the only creature known to be able to degenerate after evolution. As long as Slowpoke's tail is cut off, and the connection between Slowpoke and Shelder is interrupted, Slowpoke will turn into Slowpoke again, and Shelder will also change from a spiral shell to a scallop. So if there is an accident with the shell, Slowpoke will be defeated. Slowpoke, freeze punch. Just as AI Lan's Charizard was approaching Slowpoke quickly, Kona showed a cold smile on his face. Slowpoke, who had been shrinking in the shell, heard the command, and two small fists stretched out from the shell like lightning, icy and cold, and then hit Charizard, knocking Charizard to the ground. Not good. Ailan's face changed suddenly. Zahu shook his head. Naive child, do you really think that the petrification of the silly hippopotamus is so easy to block? This silly hippopotamus and the Charizard of Do have always been evenly matched. How to deal with Charizard, the silly hippopotamus, is very familiar. The failure of the petrification control is just to deliberately lure you into the trap and take the initiative to offer your face to it. From here on, the ending is also doomed. Silly hippopotamus, surf, Kona said. The silly hippopotamus floated in the air, set off a huge wave, and attacked the injured Charizard on the ground. The huge wave hit the Charizard, and the Charizard howled, and the light flashed around it, and it turned back to its original appearance of Charizard, losing all its combat power. Keep up the good work. Zahu patted Ailan on the shoulder and said. Ailan nodded, and took back the Charizard. His strength is not weak, otherwise he would not have been favored by Vladimir, but he still lacked some skills to challenge Kona. Next is my stage. Dragonite, get up. Zahu said. Dragonite yawned lazily, stood up from one side, looked at the hippopotamus in the sky, and calmly stretched out a paw. The hippopotamus fell into deep thought, then stretched out two hands. Dragonite showed an angry expression, and showed one more paw. The hippopotamus showed a timid expression, silently retracted one of his little hands, and then showed three little paws on one hand. Dragonite thought about it, nodded, and agreed. The hippopotamus showed a cute expression, then closed his eyes, fell directly to the ground, restored his original form, and then lay on the ground, indicating that he had lost the will to fight. Dragonite, with a happy face, pointed to the referee next to him, and was clear-minded, and quickly made a judgment. The referee was puzzled, but was stared at by Dragonite, and was inexplicably afraid in his heart, and hurriedly said, the hippopotamus has lost the will to fight. Zahu and Ailan won. Dragonite's face was even happier, and he ran towards Zahu, saying in Elvish, quickly take my Pokeball back. Zahu covered his face with his hands, and he really couldn't bear to watch. Others can't understand, and he couldn't understand the gesture just now. Dragonite was a big lazy guy before it evolved, and it's even lazier after it evolved, especially after it returned to its original form and defeated the Dragonite in the Sanctuary of the Smoky Ink Gym. It became even lazier. It can easily beat Hippopotamus, but he refused to fight, and even made a deal. It was the face treasure that Kona said he would make for Dragonite just now. One small claw means one face treasure. Hippopotamus wanted 6 face treasures, but Dragonite refused. In the end, the deal was made for 3 face treasures. Hippopotamus didn't have to be beaten, and Dragonite didn't have to fight. Oh my god, why are all my Pokémon so weird? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 446 Double Semifinals. After the match, Zod did not watch the next match. He put on his backpack and left. This kid is too ambitious. He may suffer in the future, Kona said as he looked at Zod, who was leaving. It is normal for a young man to be ambitious when he has some skills. Let him experience a few more beatings from society and he will be honest, Zahu said. Yes, you just lack the beatings from society. Kona looked at Zahu meaningfully and said that in just one match, even Pokémon that surpassed the king level were sent out. I'm doing this to give the vast number of new trainers an opportunity to grow. Let them see a broader sky, and then take this as a goal, work hard, and achieve the great cause of improving the strength of trainers in the entire league. For this, I don't hesitate to play this kind of villain and ugly role, and endure the misunderstanding and grievances of others. Is it easy for me? Zahu said with a wronged look. You will become the champion of Hone. There is really a reason. Kona said, such a weirdo. You are indeed a Hone person in Kanto skin. Yes, it's because I'm so good that the people in the Hone League don't even care about the regional restrictions. Zahu said as if he didn't hear the hidden meaning of Kona. Kona glanced at Zehu and estimated in her heart. In the end, she was sure that Zehu would never be shy because of a few words from her, so she decided to forget it. Miss Kona. At this time, Ko Ping said nervously, What's the matter? Kona glanced at Ko Ping and said, although they were not familiar with each other, Ko Ping had a good relationship with Xiao Guang and Xiaozi recently, so she didn't keep him at a distance. It's like this. Your slow hippo just now was very powerful. After super evolution, it easily suppressed Alan's Charizard. Can I ask you some questions? Ko Ping said nervously with a little stuttering. Questions? Zehu glanced at Ko Ping with a hint of murderous intent. What did this kid want to do? He was so intimate. He fell in love with Xiao Guang at first sight yesterday, but he changed his mind today. Okay. Kona glanced at Zehu's expression and smiled subtly. Since Hippo can super evolve, can Hippo King also super evolve? If so, I can try whatever achievement I need to achieve. Ko Ping said sincerely. The Hippo King beside Ko Ping raised his head and looked at Kona with a sincere plea. It also wanted to try what would happen after super evolution. You asked the wrong person. I'm not a professional scholar studying super evolution. On the contrary, Zehu is an authority on super evolution. Kona smiled. Authority? Mr. Zehu? Ko Ping turned his head and looked at Zehu with a fiery gaze. Even through a thick layer of glasses, Zehu could clearly feel the madness hidden behind Ko Ping's eyes. Pokemon, who had already liked Ko Ping a little, saw this expression and felt a gloomy atmosphere again. He got into Xiao Guang's arms without thinking. To complete the Mega Evolution, generally speaking, the only way is to find the Evolution Keystone and the Mega Evolution Stone corresponding to the Pokémon. If you want to make a Poking Mega Evolve, you must first find the Mega Evolution Stone. Zehu said. Although in his memory, Hippoking did not Mega Evolve, but Articuno also evolved. As long as the Mega Evolution Stone can be found, it should be possible to Mega Evolve. Find the Mega Evolution Stone. Ko Ping raised his glasses, and the lens seemed to reflect the light of thinking. Mega Evolution Stones are mainly concentrated in the Kalos region, but there may also be some ancient civilization ruins. But you need to explore them. The outside world is very big. Take advantage of the fact that you are not old yet, walk more, and you will have a lot of gains. Zehu suggested. Thank you, Mr. Zehu. Ko Ping thanked. Zehu smiled slightly, said nothing more, and continued to watch the next game. There was not much suspense. Xiaozi Xiaoxia and Xiao Gangyang both defeated their opponents and became each other's opponents tomorrow. The night passed in a flash, and then it was a semi-final between Zehu Alan and Ko Ping Xiao Guang. Looking at Zehu and Alan, Ko Ping and Xiao Guang both had some anxiety and lack of confidence on their faces. It would have been fine if they hadn't seen the battle yesterday, but after seeing it, no one was confident of winning, let alone Zehu. Even Alan's Charizard, the two of them had no way to deal with it. Don't be so nervous, my partner today is it. Zehu pointed to the high-spirited heart scale treasure at his feet. It's heart scale treasure. Xiao Guang breathed a sigh of relief. Brother Zehu was still very humane and didn't bully the weak. My Pokémon is it. Alan also released his own Pokémon at this time, a metal monster floating leisurely in the air. He still changed the Pokémon. After all, it was made of Kira rock and ground, and 4 times weak water, while Xiao Guang Pokémon and Ko Ping Hippoking were all water type. If he didn't change it, even if Zehu's hard scale treasure covered him, it would be useless. Hard scale treasure, metal monster. Xiao Guang and Ko Ping looked at each other. At this time, if things went well, they might be able to win. They have already reached the semi-finals, and if they can win, naturally no one wants to lose. The two of them sent out their Pokémon without thinking. Ko Ping was still Hippoking, and Xiao Guang became a swimming weasel. And when Xiao Guang's swimming weasel came out and saw Alan's metal monster, a different expression appeared on his face. Because there was no human intervention from Zehu, the swimming weasel that they met before was still subdued by Xiao Guang. It's just that this guy seems to have a very different emotion towards Metal Monster because he was abused by Zehu's Metal Monster. Alan, wait a minute. If there is a chance, let Metal Monster use Meteor Punch to tease Xiao Guang's swimming weasel. There may be unexpected results. Zehu said. Aelin nodded in cooperation. Although the opponent he faced today could not be compared with yesterday, his Pokémon was no longer Charizard. If he was not careful, he might fail. Swimming Weasel, use the water jet on Heart Scale Treasure, Xiao Guang said. She didn't know how strong the metal monster was, but she saw Xiao get it and then trained it. With a short time, its strength would definitely not be too high. Although Swimming Weasel wanted to fight the metal monster more, Xiao Guang gave the order and carried it out without thinking, especially when Xiao was the trainer of Heart Scale Treasure. A water jet sprayed out of Swimming Weasel's body and went straight to Heart Scale Treasure. Heart Scale Treasure, Iron Head skill, Xiao said. Heart Scale Treasure jumped up with force, and the heart-shaped scales on its head sparkled. It collided head-on with Swimming Weasel. There was a bang, and they retreated. Hippoking, use mental strength on Heart Scale Treasure, Kaoping said. He liked to plan before acting, and was used to making strategies and analysis. Although Xiao's Pokémon was far superior to him, he couldn't make any particularly effective strategic plans last night, but he still had a simple analysis. If Xiao didn't use a particularly powerful Pokémon, he would deal with Xiao first, and then deal with Aelan. The Hippoking's eyes flickered with a faint light, and the invisible telekinesis immediately controlled the Heart Scale Treasure. Then the Hippoking moved his fingers and firmly controlled the Heart Scale Treasure. Then, with a flick of his fingers, the Heart Scale Treasure was thrown to the ground. Meteor Punch. Just as the Hippoking had just finished with Xiao, Aelan also issued her own order. The metal monster's fists flashed, and the entire Pokémon was carried on the Hippoking like a cannonball, knocking the Hippoking back. Daigo's habitual trick was to use Meteor Punch to let his Metagross charge and attack. Xiao also followed suit. He knew that he could never compare to Daigo in using Metagross. Seeing that the two champions used it in this way, Aelan naturally followed suit. Swimming Air Weasel, use a more powerful jet of water to attack the Heart Scale Treasure, Xiao Guang said. She did not let Swimming Air Weasel support, but continued to attack the Heart Scale Treasure and complete the previous tactics. Seeing this, Kaoping smiled and agreed with Xiao Guang's decision. Although the metal monster was not weak, it was not easy to defeat the Hippoking. The most important thing at the moment was to deal with Zinlinbao. Moreover, this was the tactic agreed upon at the beginning. Xiao Guang would just attack, and Kaoping would be responsible for the defense. The Swimming Weasel sprayed a water column and rushed at a faster speed than before. Zinlinbao was attacked by the Hippoking and fell to the ground. After finally standing up, the Swimming Weasel's water column came in front of him and hit Zinlinbao's lower abdomen hard. Zinlinbao, hold on, use the Dragon Claw, Xiao said. Zinlinbao, who was pushed by the Swimming Weasel all the way, showed a firm look in his eyes, grabbed the Swimming Weasel tightly, and then slapped the Swimming Weasel with a small claw. Although he was hit by the water column, he was hurt, but the opponent had no chance to dodge. Zinlinbao used a Dragon Claw to hit the Swimming Weasel to the ground, and then continued to hit it with a Dragon Claw. Although Xiao and Aelan can cooperate well, they have basically fought separately since the beginning of the battle. Because the opponent's strength is often not as good as theirs, they usually rely on each other's strength to break up the opponent's cooperation and then fight. It is the same now. Swimming Air Weasel, dodge quickly, use Sonic Boom, Xiao Guang shouted. Swimming Air Weasel reacted quickly. Before the Heart Scale Treasure's Dragon Claw was about to hit, it quickly jumped into the air to avoid the Heart Scale Treasure's attack, and then swung its tail in the air to burst out a Sonic Blade attack. Swimming Air Weasel swung its tail quickly, and several Sonic Blade attacks hit the Heart Scale Treasure in a row, raising a cloud of smoke and sand. Heart Scale Treasure, continue to use the Dragon Claw, Xiao said with a serious face. In the smoke and sand, the Heart Scale Treasure quickly jumped out, and the Dragon Claw slapped the Swimming Air Weasel again, knocking the Swimming Air Weasel to the ground. Although the Heart Scale Treasure is small, it is also the heart of tactics. The knockdown Swimming Air Weasel also quickly stood up and fought. The Swimming Weasel clan had no tradition of being belligerent, and they were certainly not warriors, but this Swimming Weasel was born strong and belligerent, and that was the character of a warrior. The two warriors began to fight without giving in. Chapter 447 Doubles Semifinals. Swim, use Sonic Boom. Heart Scale, use Dragon Claw. On the field, the two Pokémon fought fiercely. But as time passed, the situation of the battle began to tilt towards hard scale. It was not that hard scale was particularly outstanding, nor that swimming was a problem, but that Xiaoguang was not as good as Zahu. The role of Pokémon trainers in Pokémon duels is not only to train and formulate tactical commands and arrangements, but also to communicate with Pokémon in battle, and provide spiritual support to Pokémon. Most Pokémon fight for their trainers, and trainers are a great motivation for Pokémon to fight. Xiaoguang is of course very serious and dedicated, but her personality is slightly incompatible with swimming. Swimming's overly hot-blooded personality is more suitable for Xiaozi, rather than Xiaoguang, who focuses on gorgeous competition. Now when the two meet on a narrow road, the brave wins, and Xiaoguang's support seems not enough. Heart Scale Treasure, use another move of Dragon Claw, Zahu said in high spirits. Although Zahu would do a lot of planning and analysis and make rational judgments when competing seriously, as a man who fought with Ziba, he was very eager for passionate fighting. Heart Scale Treasure jumped high into the air, using the advantage of his petite body, to avoid the attack of the Swimming Gas Weasel, and then hit the Swimming Gas Weasel on the head with a claw, knocking the Swimming Gas Weasel down, temporarily winning the upper hand. The Swimming Gas Weasel also stood up quickly, covered in dust, looking extremely embarrassed, but his eyes were still firm, and he still wanted to fight. Swimming Gas Weasel, don't fight close to you anymore, use the water gun, Xiaoguang said. The Swimming Gas Weasel showed a trace of resistance in his eyes, but still obeyed Xiaoguang's instructions, and launched a special attack with the water gun. Heart Scale Treasure, get out of the way, Zahu suddenly ordered. Heart Scale Treasure quickly dodged. Although he didn't know why Zahu asked it to dodge, it unconditionally believed in Zahu. The Swimming Gas Weasel's water gun bypassed Heart Scale Treasure and rushed to the front, where the Metal Monster and the Hippo King were fighting. At this moment, the Hippo King had just used the defense to resist the Metal Monster's Meteor Fist, but the effect disappeared, and the Swimming Weasel's water gun hit the Hippo King and injured him. Not good. Xiaoguang's face changed, thinking of a way to remedy the situation. Heart Scale Treasure, use the Iron Head skill on the Hippo King to deal with it, Zahu said. Heart Scale Treasure used all four limbs to quickly crash into the Hippo King. Oops, Swimming Weasel, quickly use the water jet to support the Hippo King, Xiaoguang said anxiously. Support. Zahu showed an inexplicable smile on his face, and Ailan on the side said decisively, Metal Monster, use the Thunder Fist. The Metal Monster's right fist immediately flashed with golden lightning, and hit the Swimming Weasel that rushed towards him. Metal Monster also knows the Thunder Fist. Xiaoguang's face changed drastically. From the beginning to now, the Metal Monster has never used this trick. It has always used steel attribute tricks such as Meteor Fist, and has never used electric tricks. But I didn't expect that it would save this killer move for the last. Swimming Weasel, spin, and dodge, Xiaoguang shouted anxiously. The Swimming Weasel in the air heard Xiaoguang's command, and actually did a beautiful spin in the air, constantly increasing the speed of the water jet, and narrowly avoided the Metal Monster's lightning fist. Zahu showed a bit of surprise on his face. He really deserves to be the inventor of the rotation. He used the change in rotation speed to avoid the attack. But that's not enough. Heart Scale Treasure, follow the Swimming Weasel, and use the Iron Head skill. Speed up the Swimming Weasel again, Zahu said. Heart Scale Treasure acted immediately, turned violently into the water column, followed the rotation of the Swimming Weasel, and knocked the Swimming Weasel out hard, and hit the Hippo King who had just stood up. Xiaoguang, Kaoping and two magical babies were knocked away at the same time. Metal Monster, use the Thunder Fist again, Ailan said. The Metal Monster moved quickly, and the fist burst out with lightning power, hitting the Swimming Weasel and the Hippo King. Lightning burst out, and a violent explosion occurred on the spot. After the electric light faded, Heart Scale and Metal Monster jumped out calmly, while Hippo King and Swimming Weasel fell to the ground weakly, revealing a pair of background eyes. Hippo King and Swimming Weasel lost their ability to fight. Zahu and Ailan won, the referee said. Zahu and Ailan took the two Pokémon back with a smile, and then watched the next match between Xiaoguang Yanghua, Xiaozi and Xiaoxia with Xiaoguang and Kaoping. because there were only 3 groups of matches in total. The semi-finals and finals were held today and ended at once. Zyada Gang, Zyossi and Zyarksha are old partners. They have traveled together for so many years, not to mention how familiar they are, and now they are also very skilled in fighting. Zyossi sent out the flying Pokémon Muko, which represents the dignity of the flying master, and Zyarksha sent out the Dragon Slayer Meryl. To be honest, Zyarksha did not bring Starfish this time, and because there were more Pokémon, she was no longer like before. When she encountered something, she would only call Starfish no matter what, so Sidic had fewer opportunities to appear. Zahu felt deeply regretful about this, and Zyada Gang sent out his true love in Sinnoh, Frog. Zahu expected this, because Zyada Gang now only has 4 Pokémon in total, and with Zyarksha, an old friend who is devoted to water Pokémon, the rock types of Hishino and Shakira are definitely not allowed to go, and the remaining ones are Frog and the newly hatched Lucky Egg. There is absolutely no choice, and Zyada Gang's teammate Yanhua sent out a Farfetch'd. Then the battle officially started, and the Pokémons fought evenly for a while, which was very interesting. Zyada Gang and Yanhua cooperated well, and Yanhua seemed to have some interest in Zyada Gang, which is really rare. Kona smiled while watching the game. She and Zyada Gang have known each other for more than 4 years, so they naturally have a good relationship, and she also knows Zyada Gang's problems clearly. Because Yanhua directly refused at the beginning, Zyada Gang sobered up, and then continued the battle, and Yanhua discovered Zyada Gang's advantages, so this happened. Zahu said. Then brother Zahu, Zyada Gang will find a girlfriend? Zyada Guang said with a little excitement. During the normal travel, Zyada Guang was deeply grateful for Zyada Gang's care. It can be said that, if there was no Zyada Gang, the quality of her, Zyossi and Zyarksha's trip would be at least 2 levels lower. But when she met a mature older sister, she was always pounced on, which still made Zyada Guang feel very embarrassed. Now that she finally found one, she felt relieved. Maybe, Zahu said uncertainly. According to this sign, it is very likely to develop. But that is Zyada Gang. The probability of Zyada Gang finding a girlfriend is really not greater than the probability of Zyossi being single. Although the personalities of the two are completely opposite, one is like a piece of wood, and the other sees a beautiful older sister, and becomes a rotten peach blossom. But neither of them is what normal people should have, so the success rate is ridiculously low. Then let Zyada Gang ask for a contact number to try. Zyada Gang is not unworthy of others. Kona said. Yes, ask for a contact number first. Zahu smiled and agreed with Kona's words. Zyada Gang is worthy of anyone. Physically, he travels all year round, is healthy and energetic. In terms of personality, he is gentle, kind and compassionate, but when encountering problems, he will appear to be very reliable. He is the most reliable person in Zyos's team, even when he meets an older sister. For Zyos's troublesome people, Zyada Gang has given up the opportunity to chat with Miss Joy several times. As for professional ability, externally, he is an elite gym trainer, far better than most trainers, and his part-time breeder is also first class. Internally, he is proficient in all kinds of housework, has perfect cooking skills, and is good at taking care of children. In short, with Zyada Gang, there is no need to worry about things at home. If he gets rid of the bad habit of jumping on a mature older sister, this kind of man would be easily snatched up in his previous life. Chapter 448, The Flames of Riot. The result of the second semi-final came out soon. Zyossi and Zyarksha worked together and still won over Zyada Gang and Yanhua. After all, Zyossi and Zyarksha have been traveling together for so long, so their tacit understanding is of course top notch, and Zyada Gang and Yanhua have only known each other for 3 days. So the final champion combination was born between Zahu and Alan and Zyossi and Zyarksha. Zyossi sent out the cute little Blaze. After arriving in Sinnoh, Zyossi has really grown up. He is no longer like before. No matter what game, no matter what the opponent's attributes, all Pikachu plays as a forward. Zyarksha sent out Swampert, with the goal of becoming the world's #1 water Pokémon master. It is natural that our water Pokémon are used. Zahu and Alan also changed their Pokémon for this game. Zahu sent out Parasaurolophus, and Alan sent out Yukara. After all, the battle with Kaoping Zyada Guang was not easy. Heart Scale and Metal Monster were both seriously injured, and it was not suitable for a fierce battle in a short time. Swamp, use water gun on Yukara. Zyraksha took the initiative, and a stream of water from the mouth of Swamp was sprayed towards Swamp. Yukara was a rock and ground, and her current level was not high. If she was hit by this move, it basically meant that she would lose her combat ability. Parasaurus, block it, and then use seed bombs. Zahu said. Parasaurus jumped with its strong and powerful lower limbs, and jumped in front of Yukara, then crossed its hands to block Swamp's water gun, and then the mushroom on its head, which looked like a bamboo hat, suddenly squeezed out a seed bomb and shot it quickly at Yukara. In terms of attributes, this game was really fair. Swamp's water attribute attack restrained Yukara 4 times, and similarly, Parasaurus grass attribute attack also restrained Swamp with water and ground attributes 4 times. Little Blaze, flame wheel. Zyros, he shouted. Little Blaze jumped up flexibly, with flames rolling on his body, and turned into a flame wheel to hit Parasaurus seed bomb head on, blocking the seed bomb, and rushed towards Parasaurus with the remaining momentum. Yukara, use Sandstorm. AI Land said. Blaze can restrain grass type Pokémon, but Yukara can also restrain fire type Pokémon. Yukara stood behind Parasaurolophus, and with himself and Parasaurolophus as the center, he stirred up a storm of sand, which rolled and knocked down Blaze, which had little power left in the air. Swamp Fish, carry Blaze on your back, use Surf, and break through the sandstorm. Zyraksha said. Swamp Fish acted quickly, and Blaze also cooperated tacitly, jumping flexibly and standing behind Swamp Fish. Then the water under Swamp Fish's feet surged, and a huge wave was raised in an instant, rushing towards Yukara's sandstorm. Parasaurolophus, jump up and use Iron Tail breaking waves. Zahu said. Parasaurolophus jumped up suddenly, and its tail shone with a silver-white metallic luster. It chopped down with force, directly splitting the huge wave raised by Swamp Fish. Swamp Fish and Blaze lost their balance, and fell down at the same time. Yukara, use Sharp Stone attack. Ailan attacked urgently. Water restrains rocks and the ground, but it is not resistant to rocks or the ground, and Blaze is even more so, being restrained by 2 attributes at the same time. Yukara stomped his feet hard, and Sharp Stone blade suddenly protruded from the ground. Blaze, use Jet Flame on the ground. Swamp, use Water Gun on the ground. Zyrosi and Zyraksha said in unison. Blaze and Swamp attacked the ground at the same time, and with the impact force, they flew up to the sky, easily avoiding Yukara's Sharp Stone attack. Ailan was slightly stunned, as if she had not expected that there was such a way to deal with it. Seeing this, Zahu showed a strange smile, just waiting for you two to fly up to the sky, and said, Parasol, Seed Bomb. A large bomb burst out from the head of the parasol mushroom again, shooting towards Swamp. Zyrosi and Zyraksha's faces changed. It was convenient to fly up to the sky, but there was no way to use the force in the sky, so it was difficult to dodge. Blaze, use Jet Flame on Swamp. Zyrosi said with an idea. The little flaming monkey opened its mouth, and a long column of flames spurted out, hitting the swamp jumper, knocking the swamp jumper down, and avoiding the seed bomb of the parasitic mushroom. The swamp jumper fell to the ground, a little embarrassed, but not much damage. Water is resistant to fire, and the little flaming monkey controlled the power, so the impact on it was negligible. Zahu's eyes lit up slightly, revealing a trace of admiration. Sure enough, Zyros's IQ would only be reflected in the Pokémon duel. Using less damage to avoid the seed bomb can kill the swamp jumper's attack in seconds. But, do you think that avoiding the seed bomb will be fine? Don't forget, this is a doubles match. Yukara, stomp your feet. Ailan's voice sounded. Yukara stomped her feet, and the ground shook violently. The swamp jumper just stood up, but it couldn't use the water gun as calmly as before. It was hit by the attack, and fell to the ground again, with a very painful expression. Swamp jumper, hold on, don't give up. Zyraksha cheered. Swamp jumper finally got up with difficulty, but the fatigue on his body was visible. Strange, it's just a stomp. Swamp jumper shouldn't be able to hold on with his physical strength. Zyagwong, who was watching, was surprised. Because the effect of the stomp is that, if the previous attack is dodged, the power of this move will double. Swamp Jumper itself has no resistance to ground attributes, so this move is very harmful. Kaoping said. So that's how it is. Zyozzy and Zyarksha are not in danger. Zyadaguang said worriedly. The dangerous situation was not only seen by Zyadaguang and the others, but also by Zyozzy and Zyarksha. They couldn't help but feel heavy-hearted. They looked at each other and quickly confirmed each other's thoughts. Continue to use the old strategy and rush to the end. Blaze Monkey restrained Parasaurolophus, giving Swamp Jumper a chance to kill Yukara with one blow. Blaze Monkey, use Flame Wheel on Parasaurolophus. Zyozzy said. Blaze Monkey blew flames from his mouth and quickly turned into a flame to kill Parasaurolophus. Parasaurolophus, Sonic Punch. Zahu said. Parasitoid's right fist glowed white, and its body flew forward, closing the distance between it and the little flame monkey. Then, at the moment of a fierce collision, it bypassed the little flame monkey and rushed to the Swamp Jumper behind it. Zyarksha's face changed drastically, and she hurriedly said, Swamp Jumper, use the water gun on Parasitoid. Swamp Jumper used all its strength to fire the most powerful water gun it could at the moment, shooting at Parasitoid. Parasitoid, next, use the seed bomb. Zahu said. Injury for injury. The water gun only has half the damage to Parasitoid, but the seed bomb is different for Swamp Jumper. Parasitoid suffered the damage from the water gun head on, and at the same time, a seed bomb burst out on its head, accurately hitting Swamp Jumper. After a burst, Swamp Jumper fell to the ground weakly, revealing a pair of background eyes. Swamp Jumper. Zyozzy observed the battle situation here, and his face suddenly changed. Using Kira, Sharp Stone Attack. Zyozzy's distraction did not escape Ailan's eyes, and he decisively issued an order. The sharp stone pillars on the ground protruded and hit the little flame monkey. After several attacks, all of them were successful. The little flame monkey fell to one side and lay on the ground. The referee on the side saw this and thought that the winner had been decided and was about to make a judgment. Zahu felt a sense of danger at this time. Instinctively, Zahu said without thinking, Parasiteria, dodge to the side. Parasitaria's eyes were confused. He didn't know where Zahu asked it to dodge, but his body jumped to the right out of habit. As a result, he felt a scorching breath just after landing. The little flame monkey lying on the ground suddenly jumped up, and the small flame on its but suddenly burst into 5 or 6 long flames, and then turned into a flame wheel, rushing over. Parasiteria dodged it first, but Ujira didn't have this luck. He was hit by the flame wheel and fell heavily to the ground, losing his ability to fight directly. The sudden change surprised everyone at the scene. Whether it was Zahu, Ailan, or Zyozzy himself, the little flame monkey's trainer, they were all shocked. The originally lively and cute little fire monkey's eyes suddenly turned red, revealing a brutal aura. Chapter 449. Information from Kyoan Town. Little Blaze, what's wrong? Xiao Guang said in shock. From the performance, it should be Little Blaze's characteristic fierce fire, but this power. Kaoping fell into deep thought. Theoretically, this should be Little Blaze's characteristic fierce fire. When the physical strength is lost to the limit, the power of the fire attribute trick will be greatly increased. However, there must be a limit to the increase. The increase of this fierce fire is too outrageous. It is stronger than the fire of ordinary blaze. Is this fierce fire? No, even if the fierce fire characteristic is activated, and the power is increased, the rationality of the Pokémon is still there. Now Little Blaze seems to have become a Pokémon. Zyogang said. That's right, the activation of the characteristic will not change the rationality of the Pokémon itself. What's going on? Kaoping looked tangled. He felt that there was a problem with the equation in his mind. Brother Zahu, is this fierce fire? Aolan was also shocked. Fierce fire has such a strong power. It's too outrageous. Yes, it's a fierce fire. But the fierce fire of Zyoz's Infinite has to be preceded by the word super, which is completely different from the ordinary fierce fire. Zahu said while looking at the flames on the Little Infinite. Zyoz's Little Infinite is also a god-favored child with unique qualifications. The leaders of Zyoz's team in the past generations, except for the rogue crocodile in the Unova region, who did not have an amazing record, and was not amazing enough, the other few were amazing. especially the final evolution of Zyos's little Infernape. Infernape, although its strength cannot be said to be the strongest in the past generations, the battle with Shinji in the Sinnoh League was the most exciting, bathing in flames. If it hadn't been missing a stick, it would have been the reincarnation of Sun Wukong. Before the fierce fire was turned on, it was only good, but after the fierce fire was turned on, the ultimate move could be used as a normal attack, and it could lock blood and not die. Finally, Infernape entered the fierce fire state. Except for the inability to last, the power was not much different from the super evolution. But it seems very manic and disobedient. Ailan wondered. Before he finished speaking, the little flame monkey suddenly pounced on the parasitic mushroom, with flames all over his body. Parasite, explosive fist. Zahu's face changed suddenly, and he quickly gave an order. Parasitic mushroom's face tightened, and his fist emitted a dazzling white light, and fiercely hit the out of control little flame monkey. The little flame monkey was full of flames, and it rushed forward fearlessly. In the fierce confrontation, parasitic mushroom, which used its strongest attack, was actually forced back. The little flame monkey roared, and the flames on its body burned fiercely. It launched a crazy attack on parasitic mushroom out of control, and the flames were critical. Parasitic mushroom folded his hands to protect his vital parts and endured the continuous and fierce attacks of the little flame monkey and was covered with scars. The little flame monkey punched parasitic mushroom with an explosive punch, knocking parasitic mushroom back repeatedly, and then jumped into the air, ready to continue the attack. At this moment, Zahu quickly gave the order, absorption fist. The wounded Parasaurolophus reacted immediately, and his right fist flashed with a rich green light. He seized the opportunity and punched the little flame monkey. The little flame monkey was knocked down in front of Zyossi, and a pit was smashed out. But immediately afterwards, it stood up again, and the flames on its body became more violent. Zahu was stunned. After the absorption punch hit just now, the Parasaurolophus's injuries were relieved a lot, proving that it did absorb some of its blood. The price of using fierce fire is residual blood, which is basically a one-shot kill. But what's going on now? Is it really locked in blood and immortal? Zahu clenched his fists, and his expression became more serious. Although the little flame monkey was not at the king level, even if it entered the fierce fire state, it was not a very good opponent. But the strength of the Parasaurolophus was not first class, and the result of the next battle was something he couldn't even predict. Little flame, that's enough, stop fighting. Just as Zahu was preparing for the next attack from Little Flame, Zyossi suddenly came out and hugged Little Flame tightly, ignoring the raging flames on Little Flame, and tried his best to comfort Little Flame. Zyossi didn't have as many thoughts as Zahu. He only knew that Little Flame was in a frenzy and didn't listen to his commands at all, which was also harmful to its own body. It must be stopped first and sent to the Pokémon Center for treatment. Little Flame, which was in a riot, didn't even recognize Zyossi. It opened its mouth and bit Zyossi's shoulder. The pain came, and Zyos's face changed, but he acted like nothing happened, trying his best to comfort Little Flame. Feeling Zyos's gentle kindness from the heart, Little Flame's restless heart gradually calmed down, and the flame behind its bud gradually shrank, and finally went out completely. Little Flame also lay on Zyos's shoulder and fell asleep. The referee looked at the little flaming monkey carefully for a few times, and after confirming that the little flaming monkey had fallen asleep and would not get up to fight again, he said, "The little flaming monkey has lost its ability to fight. Players Zahu and Alan have won this game." After saying this, the referee wiped off the cold sweat without a trace. When the little flaming monkey exploded just now, the flames on its body accidentally burned him. This was the first time he was attacked by a contestant's Pokémon in all his years as a referee. "Parasol, come back." Zahu took back the parasol and said. Although the battle did not take place, the little flaming monkey's condition did need to rest, so he didn't say much. Then, Zyossi took the little flaming monkey to the Pokémon Center to treat Miss Joy, while Zahu and Alan accepted the next award and took photos with all the Pokémon that had appeared in this game. After finishing everything here simply, Zahu and Alan went to the Pokémon Center to ask about the little flaming monkey. After getting a clear diagnosis from Miss Joy that the little Blaze was just overtired and would be fine after a night's rest, Zahu breathed a sigh of relief and sat down together to discuss the matter of the little Blaze. "Brother, what's the matter with the little Blaze's flame?" he asked curiously. "It's the characteristics of the little Blaze, but the power is far beyond the ordinary. Similarly, the requirements for the trainer are higher. Next, how to train with the little Blaze and master that power is what you need to prepare for," Zahu said. "I will master that power with the little Blaze," he promised. "So, you can take this thing too." Zahu handed the prize of this competition, the soothing bell, to Zyossi. The soothing bell can calm the restless emotions of Pokémon and enhance the intimacy between Pokémon and trainers. It's just right for you. If the little Blaze riots that day, you can try to shake the bell. "I will, thank you brother," Zyossi said. "I'll give you my soothing bell too. When you can control that power, let's compete again," Ailan said. "Okay. When the time comes, I'll use Infernape, and you use Euchara," Zyossi said. "That's it." Ailan nodded and accepted Zyos's invitation. Zahu's expression was subtle. Now it was Kira and Infernape fighting, and Kira's attributes were completely superior. But after they completed the final evolution, Infernape added a fighting attribute, which meant that Banjira was 4 times restrained by Infernape. If he didn't know Zyos's personality, he would definitely think that Zyos was a scheming boy. "Excuse me, is this Mr. Zahu? There is a message from Chihuan Town looking for you," Miss Joy suddenly said. Chihuan Town. Zahu's expression was strange. He didn't have many acquaintances in Sinop, and he had never heard of Chihuan Town. But someone was looking for him, so he had to go over and connect the video call. The screen flickered, and after a while, 4 people appeared. Professor Yamanashi, Sirona, Dago, and Professor Mustard. The originally bright smile on Zahu's face froze instantly when he saw these 4 people, and then his right hand moved to the hang up button in seconds. Although he didn't know what had happened, it was definitely not a good thing, since these 4 guys came to find him together. Chapter 450, Invitation from Dr. Mustard Orchid. "Don't hang up, or you will miss a great treasure." Dago seemed to have anticipated Zahu's move, and said with a smile, "Where you are, there must be no treasure, only pits. Also, when did you come to Sinop? Or did you never go back the last time you came? Have you dug enough stones in Alala?" Zahu said. "That's not important. What's important is that we now want to invite you to join our ruins exploration plan." Sirona took over the conversation. "I'm not interested. Your research is your business. I don't expect results, and I don't want to get involved in trouble. I just want to travel happily in Sinop and participate in competitions," Zahu said. "You are teasing the young trainer. You have a bad taste." Dago said. "Everyone here has the right to criticize me, but you don't," Zahu said unhappily. "Besides, what exactly do you want to talk to me about? Tell me clearly. If the situation is suitable, I can consider it. If it is not suitable, go away. Let me tell you about this." Dr. Mustard Orchid said, "Sinop is a very special region among all regions. I think it is the central origin of the world, so I chose to study the history of Pokémon since I was a child and have achieved some success in this field. I have also gained more and more support from the Alliance, especially after your amazing battle in the Hana Sea. The Alliance's investment in ancient exploration has also increased." Zahu listened with reluctance. These words were just a prelude to the highlight, and the focus was yet to come. Sure enough, after a brief discussion, Dr. Mustard quickly got to the point and said, "Some of us organized an exploration plan and borrowed the Diamond Jade Soul and the White Jade Soul to conduct research on eternal evolution. Here, we found the Chihuan ruins in Chihuan Town. Here we found a lot of super ancient information, and most importantly, information about Arceus." "Arceus?" Zahu's eyes changed slightly. "After Arceus was tricked by someone, he has been sleeping. The specific sleeping place is unknown. Don't tell me that it is in the Chihuan ruins you found." "Yes, it is Arceus, the god of creation in the Sinnoh legend. There is also information about Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina. We even found the Platinum Jade Soul that can transform Giratina into the original form in the legend," Dr. Mustard said. "Platinum Jade Soul?" Zahu's expression changed slightly. This thing did not appear in the animation at all, because gelatina can transform itself. I didn't expect it to be dug out by this group of people. Yes, are you interested? Dr. Mustard smiled. Of course, I believe that there is no researcher who is not interested in Arceus. But, I know better. If it can be easily solved, you will not come to Dr. Yamanashi, let alone contact me. Zahu said. Yes, there is trouble. And there is more than one. We have now found out the group of people you found in the Pokémon Center in Steel City, Team Galaxy. Although we don't know who is behind the scenes, we can be sure that their target is Dialga and Palkia, and they have ideas about the White Jade Soul and the Diamond Jade Soul. We have dealt with them a lot these days. Dr. Mustard said. Team Galaxy? Zahu nodded, thinking, the leader behind Team Galaxy is your old friend Cherry. But if I tell you, I guess you won't believe it. Also, there is the trouble in research. Deciphering the Kyoan ruins is more difficult than we thought. It involves super ancient text knowledge, ruins deciphering exploration, unknown totems, super ancient evolution, knowledge of mythical beasts and many other aspects. And you happen to be good at all of them. Dr. Mustard said. It's easier to ask me to save trouble, money, favors, and avoid the news from leaking, right? Zahu said. That's not important. What's important is, do you want to join? Aren't you interested in the information about ancient Pokémon? Dago said with a smile. Ancient Pokémon? Zahu looked thoughtful. His intuition told him that the Qin ruins were a big problem now, but he was really interested in the top secret information about Arceus. Which champion doesn't have some quirks these days? Especially the Hone champion, who can still be a Hone champion normally. Dago's quirk is stone, Makula's is the gorgeous competition, and Zahu's is related to those unknown research knowledge. The things about Arceus are indeed something that Zahu must go to. If you agree, we will arrange someone to pick you up. Cherry is the most proficient in arranging vehicles. Dr. Mustard said. Cherry? Zahu raised his eyebrows, revealing a hint of doubt. Yes, you may not know him. He is a wealthy man in Sinnoh. He has financed most of the buildings and libraries in Sinnoh. He is also passionate about charity and the research of Pokémon history. Dr. Mustard said. Oh, in that case, he is also an important figure in research. Zahu said. That's right. Dr. Mustard said. Oh, then I'll think about it again. Zahu said. No problem, I'll wait for your reply. In addition, because of this research, my previous lecture will be postponed. Dr. Yamanashi said. Okay, I got it. Let me know when you decide. Zahu said. After chatting casually for a few words, Zahu hung up the call and the smile on his face disappeared instantly. Damn it, the top leaders of my own internal team have been infiltrated by the enemy boss, and they still want to drag me in? Want to trap me to death? Don't even think about it. It's incredible that you would refuse. Kona looked at Zahu curiously. Zahu is not a hesitant person. The so-called reconsidering is actually just a euphemistic refusal. But based on Kona's understanding of Zahu, Zahu should agree. There will be time for archaeological work in the future, and if we don't travel now, it's hard to say in the future. In addition, Kochiro has to participate in the gorgeous competition, and the next one is the Suai Town, the Suai Conference. Let's get ready to go. Zahu made up an excuse, and didn't mention the matter of Cherry. Okay. Kona nodded, and saw that Zahu didn't tell the truth, but since Zahu didn't want to say it, she naturally wouldn't ask again. Zahu hung up the phone, and walked towards Xiao's he and others. However, when he arrived, he found that Xiao Gang fell on the sofa with a look of despair, and couldn't help but wonder, Xiao Gang, what's wrong? Because Yanhe just left, and Miss Tojoy told Xiao Gang that she realized her own shortcomings after today's failure, so she planned to continue traveling and train herself. She thought that only in this way could she be better worthy of Xiao Gang. Xiao Guang explained. Do you want to get the contact information? Zahu said. No. Xiao Guang said. It's cold. Zahu shook his head. Without even a contact information, the possibility of meeting again in the future is negligible. This is Xiao Gang, Xiaoxia said. As Xiao Gang's companion, she knew all of his love history. In a word, it was impossible for him to succeed in love. And I'm almost leaving, Ailan said. Okay, bye. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.